huge, monstrous hole. There he goes to the 10, to the 5, touchdown. And no penalty flags on the field. Just give it to Eric Gray. He'll do it again.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Syracuse in the red zone. Schrader looks left, blocks Gaston. Got him for a touchdown.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Play action. Guard. He wants the deep shot. Wide open in the end zone. Hauling it in. Taken away. That's an Ole Miss touchdown.
Sikkim 365 Radio is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Deckers taking a shot wide open. It's room service. Caught. Oh, it's dropped. You can't believe what happened. Hutchinson was wide open and couldn't make the squeeze.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
Protection is there. Wide open in the end zone. Touchdown. Day-Day McDougal got away from Will Jones and breezes into the end zone. 16 yards for the score.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And good afternoon on this Wednesday, October the 19th. Much to get to today. We'll hear from Tulane head football coach Willie Fritz in 15 minutes here today. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak, 365 Sports. We appreciate your time. Kendall Cowd at 4 o'clock today, who does a lot of analytics, but also covers men's and women's basketball. The Big 12 Men's Media Day today up in Kansas City. And we'll also have Baylor freshman All-American guard Keontae George today at 4:45. Former Kansas State All-American. We'll have Aaron Lockett today just after 5 o'clock. They have TCU, John Machota, Cowboys, Paul's Top 5. And that's what we have set up for today's show. Garrett, I'm about to send that to you in 1 second. Quick note, Craig, on Baylor and a player who's entered the transfer portal, which they've really mostly avoided for the most part in the last couple of years.
Yeah, not like breaking news or anything, but yesterday it was announced that Seth Jones is hitting the transfer portal, and he's been on campus now a couple years, a wide receiver from Shadow Creek down in the Houston area, teammate with Kyron Drones, who is the backup quarterback currently, who we saw coming to that West Virginia game after the hit on Blake Shapen, which I don't know if that was highlighted enough, the hit on Blake Shapen, not like to penalize anybody, but the fact that like that happened in that game and the game turned out the way that it did. Like I know it was mentioned, but I don't know that we really like bogged down on just how large that was in that game. It's just kind of like, yeah, Baylor messed up again and on to the next one. And well, yeah, they got their quarterback knocked out when he was just balling out of control on Thursday night. But regardless, Kyron Drones came in, played pretty well. Obviously left a little something to be desired at the end of the game with just the time management and whatnot, but a young guy who's got a lot of talent, very big, Kyron Drones, big body. So we'll see what happens with him, but for his teammate Seth Jones, just never seemed to really fit in the lineup like week after week, and we saw little spurts of him, but it never really was followed up by another showing, and I'm not sure what happened there. The wide receiver rooms have been a puzzle, so Seth Jones in the portal, and we'll see what happens. But I'm sure there will be more guys, over the next few months, and this is just part of the deal now in college football to see this happen midseason.
That's a position that they have not been able to really nail down. And, look, Ellis, receiver, that's a guy. Jalen Ellis has been a guy who's been a bit of a bust for them. He has not really contributed, had a lot of injuries. Seth Jones was starting to play a little bit, but not that much. And we're kind of looking at the wide receivers right now. It's kind of back to where it was last year where, it's Monterey Baldwin, it's Gavin Holmes, and it's Hal Presley. There's three guys that really play. And then, they're not a lot of four wide receiver sets anyway, but they're not getting into the depth. And, that's one of the things that's kind of weird, especially, I've said this a couple times. If you go back to like really successful teams, and they had one last year that was the best in their history, there's a fourth string wide receiver or a third string running back that you saw a little bit from, right? That you're like, oh man, that's the next wave. That didn't really happen for Baylor last year, and everything was starting anew this year. And that wide receiver room has been the one that just really they have not gotten really a handle on.
And one of the guys with experience that was overshadowed last year because of Tyquan Thornton, who's now in the NFL, R.J. Sneed in Colorado, transferred this year. And it doesn't mean he made the wrong decision. There's reasons he might have left that we really never did uncover, but 9 catches for 62 yards in so far. And, of course, Colorado has been a mess. So that's the story. Seth Jones, receiver, enters the transfer portal. I saw where a quarterback from Indiana or someone was entering the transfer portal. That's that time of the year. Now, here is Ari Temkin. He does part of the Big 12 radio network in the morning with Todd Archer. Put this up just a minute. Well, it's been a little while ago, but
Dave Archer.
Dave Archer from Iowa State. Brett Yormark said a decision on the new TV agreement, quote, will be made in the next week or two with the Big 12 Conference. Seems like, Ari continues, Big 12 could be trending towards extending the current partnership with Fox and ESPN as opposed to taking rights to the open market. Now, you wonder if that's also with ESPN trying to make sure that they get what they want. Fox gets what they want. That means you are getting, it's like a football player who's a free agent coming up and your contract is extended. Sometimes you get even more. Sometimes there's a give and take. I don't know what the number's going to be, but based on what Brett Yormark said at the Women's Media Day, that the number would be higher than it is, at least for right now, even knowing that Texas and Oklahoma are leaving, although the 4 teams are coming in. That's something you couldn't have convinced me was going to happen a year ago.
Well, that would be great news for them to cut in line, get a TV deal done before the expiration of the contract, get it locked in, solidify what you're going to be after Texas and Oklahoma leave, get that number right, and grow that out. Also, I think ESPN, as much as they hold most of the cards, they lost the Big Ten. They've got to make sure they fill that content, and they know what the Big 12 is going to be. They don't really know what the Pac-12 is going to be, so it's not surprising to me to see them and Fox and everybody else let the Pac-12 go to the open market. But since we know what the Big 12 is going to be, you kind of can make that deal, and you know what it's going to be. You know where it can fill in your programming schedule. So not surprised to see that that be the case on both ESPN and Fox's cases, because you can keep a thing that's really good, and you've seen that it's really good this year under your umbrella and not let it get in the open market.
Yeah, that can't be bad news that you're already close to potentially striking a deal. I do wonder, though, I don't try to read between the lines too many times or, try to make too much out of the exact definition of every single word, but there's a could be in there, which makes me think like there's nothing concrete about it, obviously. And just a decision being made on the new TV agreement, could that possibly mean that just a decision's made on, just how much they might dip into the open market? Is it a decision on the actual deals or a decision on how they're going to approach the deal? You know what I mean? But I'm probably looking too much into that. So if they've got just a deal, period, a deal that they're ready to settle in on, then I think that's great. It's a bit surprising that it would happen this quickly. Yeah. But I also read that like, is that perhaps just a decision on how they're going to make their decision? But no, that seems to be, they'll have a decision on their deal. So, that's going to be very interesting to see what that might look like.
The other part of his tweet, when he said that Brett Yormark told them at Big 12 Media Days, men's basketball Media Days, seems like the Big 12 could be trending towards extending the current partnership with Fox and ESPN as opposed to taking the rights to the open market, which is what the Pac-12 was able to do and get to the open market and see if any other takers they had besides the ones they had. And is it going to be maybe some people start to bid against each other? The thought is probably not with either one of these conferences, but that extending the current membership or partnership, to me, again, there's got to be some give and take. You get security, and ESPN maybe gets something else in return. Texas and Oklahoma are still going to pay the cost of leaving the conference. They will not, because of the 25 deadline, which we mentioned yesterday, have to pay anything other than that.
Yeah, but that's not like the full-blown like exit fee. That's just because the contract's running out, or their grant of rights is running out. That's just like I think people probably may interpret that as like they're paying like the $80 million tab. Like, no, their deal runs out in 25, so they'll pay like whatever minor thing that is. But I'm just surprised that given all of the talk about streaming and all of the talk about just who's going to be where. The fact that you've got Oklahoma and Texas for another couple of years. I mean, obviously this TV deal is not going to kick in the next couple of years, so that's not really playing into this. But the fact that you do know, like, hey, we're going to have BYU and Houston and UCF and Cincinnati. But besides that, like, could they possibly have somebody else? It sort of seems like steam's not really, pouring out of the Big Ten expansion meetings right now. It seems like that's kind of cooled off for the moment, but it doesn't seem like it's over either entirely. So I guess I'm just a little surprised that they might already be somewhere, given there's so many plates still in the air. But, hey, if they're able to navigate it that quickly and not have to really deal with all of the different wild cards and they can kind of just get straight to business, then I think that's a great thing overall.
I do want to, again, the exit fee is $80 million each. So there is still a very high number. That is not the penalties, which they'll be able to not deal with if they wait until the end of the 24-25 season. The exit fees are $80 million each. Now, can that be negotiated, and could that be a part of, hey, we'll extend the deal, why don't you lower this a little bit? I don't know if the other remaining 8 teams are going to want that. I think they want that money. They're not going to get any of the penalties, but there is an exit fee of $80 million per program.
Is that because their grant of rights lasts longer?
No, because what they did,
because that seems confusing to me, and I know like
it was $80 million for like each one based on if they left a year or two early.
Yeah, leaving early.
There's a bylaw in the Big 12 membership when they went through what they did with Nebraska and Colorado, then with A&M and Missouri. There is a bylaw that everybody signed up to be a member of the Big 12, and I want to think it was through 2099.
Okay, that's what
And this is, so if you ever leave before then, because they needed to have stability, and everyone signed it. And so, again, will it be $80 million? I don't know. It's going to be $65 million. It's going to be $100 million, but at least that's the number that is to each program going forward. And by the way, on the replay of our discussion about Texas and OU yesterday, because it was news, because of what Yormark said at Women's Media Day, is I was really happy to see, although there's a couple of trolls and a couple of knuckleheads, there were a few Texas fans saying, hey, we are in this conference. We kind of think it's fun right now. Winning right now helps as well. But at the same time, we kind of think this is pretty cool and look forward to it. Can we just go out with grace? That surprised me, and I loved what I saw. Now, that may just be 5 out of, 500 million, but at the same time, I thought that was kind of a different take. And also from our, hey, we cover them, whoever's in the conference going forward.
Yeah, they don't have 500 million fans, though. If they did, the Longhorn Network would work.
Yeah.
But, no, I'm glad to see that, and I do think that there's they're enjoying it now. Like, part of the complaints about the Big 12 for them was it wasn't doing enough for them, but they were both not doing enough for each other right at the same time. I mean, like, I could make the argument on either side that the league wasn't doing enough for all of its members for a certain amount of time, and the big ones that were kind of tamping it down were not doing enough for the league either. So, but, yeah, I think they should enjoy it for the next couple of years because, look, it's not going to get easy when you leave. I mean, it's not easy right now for you, and it's probably going to get harder when you're in the SEC. There's not necessarily going to be an SEC East and West based on the scheduling model, but, your schedule is not going to get easier.
We're dipping into the Texas OU thing, which I know people sometimes.
So you better enjoy it.
We are going. The main story is what Brett Yormark said about the possibility that they could get an extension based on what Ari Temkin tweeted when it comes to the TV deal, which means they may not have to linger. Now, whether or not that means the Big 12 has some leverage or who has leverage, or both are actually working together, which would be great, because if you want to help each other, then you help each other. That, to me, is the biggest story of what he was saying today.
Yeah, that's clearly the biggest story. But, I mean, I think it's cool. They'll be around for a couple years. I'm sure some fans on their side don't like that, but so what? I'll enjoy that, there'll still be a couple more rounds of, Oak State and Oklahoma and Baylor, Texas, and whatever other matchup you want to throw out there. Look, I've said all along, I don't blame them for doing what they're doing. There's not any bitterness on my part. I think that, some of the average Joe bragging as though they're the commissioner of the SEC and talking about the bank they're going to make in the SEC gets a bit ridiculous when it's just, Joe from Norman or whatever. It's like you're not the one making that money. That's when it gets a bit silly. But for the most part, OU Texas fans, like I think they're great, and I think that those are two great programs, and I think it'll be fun to see them around for a couple more years. And I'm also very much looking forward to the new Big 12 and this little mutated version that we'll see for 2 seasons, and then the brand new version that we'll see beyond that. It's nice to, I guess, have some answers, at least for the moment. It seems like we have answers. I won't rule out that there could always be some wild card that gets thrown into the mix, but it's kind of good to know of what to sort of expect, because I was almost getting the feeling that we'd get to the end of this year and get to like the last week of December in the regular season, and all of a sudden like, oh yeah, by the way, this is the last year and we'll see you later. You know, like I like that there's going to be like a gradual
we know the
unraveling of this thing. Yeah, that's kind of nice to know and sort of prepare for.
All right, so Willie Fritz, Tulane football coach, will join us here momentarily on 365 Sports, ranked in the top 25, first time in a long, long time. They had the win earlier this year against K-State. Speaking of that, K-State TCU this weekend, and former All-American Aaron Lockett, again, is one of our guests today at 5 o'clock. So there was an interesting note as well today that we'll get to a little bit later on, about Scott Frost and his contract, and the Public Records Act was kind of pushed, and they didn't want to do anything with it, and eventually they did. We'll have one of the things of what he needed to do to hang around or to reach the thresholds, and we'll have that in just a little bit. But we're now joined and excited about having Tulane head football coach Willie Fritz with us on 365 Sports of the nationally ranked Tulane Green Wave. Willie, when you hear that, I know it's about the end game, but what does that mean to the program, and thanks for your time.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. We're excited about it. There's a lot of goals that you have every season. That's certainly one of them, and hasn't happened here at Tulane for quite some time. So it's a neat deal. But like you just alluded to, the end game's the main thing.
Coach, you have, through your career, I mean, you played at Pittsburgh State, who was a power at that level. You've come up coaching through high school, through community colleges, through FCS, every single level. How does that change your perspective or give you different looks when you get to Tulane and coach there and are now on the FBS level?
Well, I've kind of, taken over programs that maybe weren't at the top of their form. And done a good job of hiring the right coaches and recruiting the right kids and being able to get it going in the correct direction. And, kind of went up from, as you talked about, went up the ranks a little bit. I think that makes you more prepared. We'll sit in a staff meeting at the beginning of the year, and I'll have everybody, and back in the old days when I took my head job at Blinn, my first head coaching job at Blinn Junior College over in Brenham, it was me and 2 other guys. We did everything. We were the equipment managers, the academic people, we lined the fields, we mowed the grass, drove the bus, we, coach offense, defense, kicking games, strength coach, taped ankles, did all those different things. And, so I've got a great respect for everybody's job and know a little bit about each one. I'm probably enough to screw them up, I guess. But, so I really think it's probably easier to go up in levels because you're very appreciative of what you have. So often I hear people talk about facilities and this, that, and the other thing. And it's more about the players and, the coaches and those kind of different things. So I'm glad I did it the way I did it. It's, really enjoyed every place that I was at. And, I recommend it, to anybody.
Coach, you're a big part of some of the success has happened, but what are your thoughts on the kind of the JUCO level of ball played here in the state of Texas?
Well, I loved it. I one thing I worry about with the portal, the transfer portal is it's going to hurt junior college football. I went to JC last year to recruit, and they told me I was the only head coach who's been in there, that year. And heck, I remember when I was at Blinn, I had everybody come in and visit with me and see me. And I was D coordinator at Coffeyville Community College, and we'd have everybody come in and recruit. And it was a good place for guys to develop and have that opportunity to go on and play Division I, 1AA, Division II, even Division III. It wasn't just all guys going to Division I. So I worry about that a little bit, but Yeah, there's a great junior college league down there with Glenn and Navarro and Trinity Valley and Cisco and Kilgore and Tyler, and I think I hit them all right there.
Yeah, you did.
But we really enjoyed it. I thought it was very, very competitive. The teams that I had at Glenn, I think I had maybe 10, 15 guys that ended up playing in the NFL. We had some really good players on those teams and guys that went all over and played different places. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of junior college football.
Well,
it's strange. It's strange. I can't take them here.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
So
yeah.
we got a little higher. Our academic standards are pretty darn high. They've got to be a qualifier. All their hours have got to transfer. But I have all these junior college coaches calling from all over the country, and they want to send their kids. I said, man, I can't take him. He's not qualified. I just can't take him. But but I love JC ball.
Well, I went to Tyler Junior College, and I know about the history of Blinn until you showed up. And, of course, they've had a great history and incredible what you did and watched it. And myself, when I covered the Apaches among the other teams that you mentioned. I saw a stat. We were discussing Illinois and the run. We had an analyst who covers Illinois on earlier in the week. And I looked at what they're doing in some of the categories nationally, and then I saw Tulane pop up in the top 10 with fewest penalties per game. Is that always been kind of a staple of a Willie Fritz football team?
Well, we sure want it to be. I think it's very, very important. When we talk about it, we have what we call the plan to win. And the first component of the plan to win is win the turnover takeaway margin. I always show that to kids, in our first meeting, that all these different levels I coached, junior college, Division II, 1AA, Division I, when we've done +1 or better, we won 90% of our games. So that's the number one thing that we accent. And we talk about controlling the run game, both offensively and defensively. And then the third thing we talk about is, the wave don't beat the wave. It's trying to eliminate pre-snap and post-play penalties. The calls that anybody could make. The sitting in the stands. When the ball snapped up until the whistle's blown, all those calls are subjective. One time they might call it a hold, and next time they may not call it a hold. And the exact same thing occurred. So we really emphasize that and try to get our guys to play as clean as we can. One of the things we do is that staff, we're going to meet here at 4 o'clock, and I just went over all the penalties during practice. And we'll show those penalties to the staff, and then they'll show them to the guys tomorrow morning during our meeting. So, if you can stay away from those pre-snap and post-play, the late hits and the, trying to draw attention to yourself or whatever the heck that what's going on now. But, try to stay away from those and just, that'll help you out big time if you can be disciplined. Those are really lack of discipline fouls.
Whenever the college football playoff expansion does happen here in the next couple of years, what does that mean for a school like Tulane that has had great seasons in the past? Is you guys are building something pretty special right now for getting kids into a place that's, in New Orleans is a great place to live and go to school, and in a stadium that's really fun, and all these cool things that you have going on at Tulane that you can maybe now sell the biggest thing to the incoming students.
Well, I just think every year, even when they've gotten to 4, there's always been 1 or 2 teams you're thinking, I wonder if they should have been in there. So I think it's good, and especially it'll give an opportunity to, for a group of 5 team to get in there and compete and play. Seen all these, I guess they call them upsets with teams from our league and other leagues that are going in, and all these games are on the road too. Everybody doesn't realize that either. They don't pay you to come to your place, right?
Yeah.
But there's been a bunch of them this year, so the difference is really small between all these different levels, and I think it'll be good for the game of football, without question, the game of college football.
Coach, we talk to Jeff Schrader pretty regularly. He's a friend of the show, and he absolutely despises the term G5 or Group of 5 or whatever. Does that term bother you as much as it does Jeff Schrader, for example?
Well, I don't use it very much. And, they're coming into our league this next year, so we're excited about that. Coach Schrader's done a fabulous job. Matter of fact, his son works with the linebackers here with the Saints. I don't know if you all knew that or not.
Yeah, I didn't know about that.
We see him from time to time. But, our league has branded itself part of the Power Six, and that all sounds good. But, the only way to get rid of that label is to beat teams from that other level that they talk about all the time, right? So, a bunch of teams in, the Sun Belt, the MAC, the American Athletic Conference, our conference, Mountain West, they've all, beaten a bunch of those schools. So the difference is really small, as I said before. And I think that's why it's good that they're going with the expansion with the, college football playoffs.
Willie, you beat Kansas State earlier this year, and a lot of people who don't understand what you've done or are doing or your history were probably like, oh, my God, they lost to Tulane. We know how some aren't just very keen to what's going on. That game was completely even across the board in every way, and you actually lost the turnover battle 2-0 and won at Kansas State. What are your thoughts about that game? Because Kansas State obviously has not lost since they played you.
Well, I got a lot of respect for Coach Kleiman. He and I butted heads when I was at Sam Houston State, and he was up at North Dakota State as the defensive coordinator. Did a really good job. It was a defensive battle, and again, that was another game where there's a couple hundred people for old Tulane and 50-some thousand for the team in purple. So it was a great effort by our players. I'm really proud of them. Hard-fought game from the beginning till the very end. And we made the plays when we needed to. You're right. We were -2. We did not win the first component of the plan to win. We got beaten that area. But I think it gave our guys a bunch of confidence. And, they realized that, week in, week out, we got an opportunity to win regardless who we play, provided that we play well and prepare during the week.
One of the other people on your coaching tree is Brian Bell, who's now an assistant on the Baylor staff, won a state championship here at China Spring High School last year. He, I don't know if he's a coaching tree necessarily, or he played for you at Sam Houston State. Do you have any good Brian Bell stories? And what does it mean when a player that you coached comes up through, wins a state championship, and does something as a coach?
Well, I got a million Brian Bell stories, but I love old Brian. He's just a great young man. What a family, the Bells. All just super, super people. I had a chance a couple of summers ago to my wife and I went over to his wedding, and my son was actually in a wedding. My son and Brian are best buddies. And, when he came to Sam Houston, we had a whole bunch of quarterbacks. And the last minute I took him, I'll tell you who told me to take him was Doug Furch. If you guys know Doug or not, he works over there.
Yeah, very well.
Baylor Athletic Department.
Absolutely.
Doug and I had worked years before. And he said, you got to take this kid. He came in and visited. I think he's about 145 pounds.
Yep.
Came out and visited. And we went ahead and took him, and I was going to redshirt him and beef him up to, 155. And we just kept going. And it's proven to me that, hey, these guys aren't going to be able to do it. So we started Brian, and he just did an unbelievable job, really helped turn that program around and won a bunch of ball games. And last year we were so proud to watch him. When China Springs won the state championship, he just did a great job with that program. It was really something else. And Sean's done a fantastic job over there at Baylor too. So just a neat family.
Coach, what's it like to be able to enjoy kind of some of the moments along the way, but also having to constantly deflect people like us in the media talking about your accomplishments halfway through a season and playoffs and things like that? Are you finding yourself combating more of the rat poison and things like that, or are you able to enjoy it along the way as well? What's kind of that battle there for a coach?
Well, one of the things we've always done, and Brian would be able to tell you this as well, kind of started a few, I think it was his junior year. Started off 1-2, and we'd went 14-1 the year before, and we just started talking about 1-0. All over. I don't hear about all this other crap. Just 1-0. We're gonna flush that last game down the toilet. We're getting ready for go on this next game. Our kids have really embraced that, and I just think they understand that we're not just going to roll the ball out there with anybody. We've got to prepare during the week, and then we got to turn it loose on Saturday at kickoff time. So they've done a good job of staying even keel.
Willie, I know you got to go. Brian Bell, by the way, sent me a couple of quotes now that Paul brought it up. One of the best men I have ever been around, makes things very simple and lets his players play. God bless me big time being able to play for him in college. One of the best decisions I ever made. Being on his staff, I was always so shocked at how much juice he would bring. I was 24 at the time thinking, if this guy's 58 and bringing it, I sure as heck can bring it too.
Well, that's nice of Brian to say all that. He just, he's done a super, super job, as I said before, and think the world of him. And it's had a lot of fun. People get in this profession, they just don't. I got into this because I love it. I love hopefully having an impact on young people, but you also want to have a little fun, And we get out there and we run around. And I pride myself in, having as much juice or more than anybody else that's on my staff. Doesn't matter what age you are. You want to get out there and move around. If you don't move around, I don't know if the players are going to move around. So I know Brian coaches that way too. I'm sure he does. Certainly that way as a player. And when he coached for me at Georgia Southern, he'd always be moving around and having a good comment or two for the guys and just keeping the enthusiasm up.
Willie, one other thing on the win against Kansas State, I was like, is there parity in any? I know there's still some of these blue bloods that have everything, right? And there even some of them are getting knocked off. Do you see any kind of a trend towards a little bit of parity with the FCS schools or whoever we want to call anything else, or the non-Power Fives? It seems like we're seeing a little bit of that just in time for all this discussion, as Craig brought up in the college football expansion.
85 scholarships is 85. I've been in this a while, and they started off with, I think they had 120 many years ago, and then went down to 105 and 95. Now there's 85. And with the transfer portal, you're going to have some key guys that are going to leave you. We were really blessed last year. Even though we didn't have a very good season a year ago, we lost very few guys. And I think that's going to be more important. You got to do a good job and have a great culture with the guys in your program. They feel good about playing for you, and they see the value of staying and playing and fighting through adversity and all those kind of things. So I do think there is, quite a bit of parity. We're seeing all these upsets. The stadium, I tell these guys all the time, the stadium, the weight room, the locker room, they can't play for you. We actually got a lot of dudes that came back to New Orleans that were really good high school players. I recruited them on the front end, didn't get them. They went someplace else and thought the grass was a little greener, and they found out it was only green. And one of the guys gave me the greatest quote. He said, Coach, after I'd been there a year, that stadium was just the same stadium when I came on the visit. I just wanted to come back home. So you got to do a good job of recruiting your guys. And I do believe, you're correct. You've seen it this season with so many upsets. There is quite a bit of parity.
Tell Tyrick James we said hi, the young man from China Spring.
He's having a fantastic season for us now.
Yeah, caught 4 touchdowns for you.
The Bells helped me get him, I'll tell you that much.
I bet they did. Is the Bohanon young man from Conway, Arkansas, related to Gerry, who was at USF, a former Baylor quarterback?
No relation, but his father was actually an All-American at Central Arkansas.
Okay, all right.
One time, so no relation.
Willie, thank you, sir. Appreciate your time. Good luck going forward. Memphis this week, and a great start for Tulane, the Green Wave. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Roll Wave.
Yes, sir. Willie Fritz, Tulane football coach with us. They have Memphis coming up this week, and we appreciate his time.
Yeah, cool to talk to him. Seems like a great coach to play for, and obviously Brian Bell had high marks. I'm sure Tyrick James, when we ever talk to him again down the line, we'll have high marks as well. And as Coach Fritz said, Tyrick's having a really good year. So for those that don't know, he played locally here at China Spring High School, which is where Brian Bell also was. So that's the joke there. But yeah, it's cool to see some local connections out there in New Orleans, and to see that K-State win. That was, you look back at that now, it was stunning at the time, but look at what a role that could play in kind of the bigger picture for K-State, depending on what happens moving forward. But it's also interesting to just hear, how much can celebrate something, but you have to like basically turn that page, man, because if you don't, it can get sideways again really quick, and they have to sort of navigate all those landmines. And like, you know, how many radio interviews is he doing prior to the season probably versus post K-State,
Sure.
you know, post going this and and that and you know, whatever. So it's hard to kind of navigate all that. I think the bigger schools are probably used to it, but he's been around a while and seems like he's got kind of the process, and I think that'll bode well for them moving forward. But yeah, very cool to see the success that they're having with the guys they're having it with, and very cool talking with him.
And I'm not doing this to stir anything up, but if you talk about a guy that you look at, and he's really happy where he is and doing a great job at Tulane, that's a name that probably should get a lot more discussion. By the way,
it's getting some, and that's another part of what I was just talking about is like, you know, he starts to win, and it's like, oh, well, let's start talking about him going somewhere else, or let's start talking about FC non-Power 5 in the playoff, and let's start talking about, and it's like, wow, we're halfway through the season, and you know, they're just trying to keep it going, much less worry about all this other stuff.
Tulane ranked in the top 25 for the first time since 1998. That is amazing.
And they were
Mac
12-0 that year,
yeah,
right?
Mac Brown won there. Didn't Bowden win there?
Tommy Bowden won there,
Had
yeah.
a heck of a run there. Sean King was their quarterback in that 98 team that went unbeaten at 12-0. All right, many things to get to. By the way, the one thing about Brett Yormark and what he was talking about, or Ari Temkin when he was visiting with Brett Yormark today at Big 12 Media Days, one of the notes about what are some of the numbers. You're going to hear some rumors and speculation. Got a little bit of what could be at least the parameters of that, but let's still wait to be seen. We'll have Kendall Kaut from the men's basketball media days, plus much more. This is 365 Sports. Willie Fritz and Brian Brell talking about how he was 58 and running around doing all his thing. And you don't have to act your age. When you hear that sometimes when you're younger because, hey, act your age, and that's kind of a discipline thing. But why not feel differently than how old you are? Whether you're 63 like me or you're 40 and you're struggling, whatever it might be. Or maybe you are in great shape and you don't have to hear what I'm about to tell you. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco is a phenomenal facility. They just got some new ellipticals in. Treadmills have been replaced. All the brand new Cybex machines and free weights, and there's still much more to do. They have classes, for example, boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursday morning. They have cycle classes, spinnerville classes, and so much more. 2 personal trainers in Christy London and Randall Corley that can change your life. I've told this story. Once 282.5 pounds, and right now pretty much always around 190. I'm very smart with it. Every day is a commitment. It's Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
During Jeep Adventure Days, Allen Samuels in Waco is celebrating with an incredible lineup of 2022 models like the Grand Cherokee L, Renegade, Wrangler, and the Wrangler 4xe. These vehicles bring power to plow through any obstacles or the smooth, peaceful ride you'd expect from a Jeep. Jeep SUVs are also known for their design and technology. The Grand Cherokee L even brings you extended seating with a 3rd row. Come see what Allen Samuels can offer you and your family and find the Jeep SUV that fits your lifestyle.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
It's football and tailgate season. If you want product for the grill or smoker, charcoal, seasonings, marinades, sauces, Waco Custom Marketplace is your home to help prep, cook, and enjoy your food. Tailgate must like brisket, tri-tip, fresh-made burgers, sausage, chicken wings, and if you want steaks, call in your order and pick them up. Bacon wrap fillets or any kind of ribeyes. USDA Select, Choice, and Prime that melt in your mouth. House-made sausage and jerky. Also, Waco Custom Marketplace, a one-stop shop for tailgating, barbecue cook-offs, and family get-togethers, fundraisers with fair prices to you, the customer. A bakery with fresh baked bread and kolaches. There's cold beer, wine, and soft drinks. Serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. A cut above the rest. Waco Custom Marketplace, open Monday through Saturday at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
All right, now, Tulane is what is, I call a non-Power 5. I know there's that term. Craig brought it up, and some coaches have kind of pushed back on that, and we get it as far as the group of 5. Just you wish you could say Division I football. It used to be that. And then, of course, they split it up, the FBS and the FCS and whatever else based on playoffs and whatever. It used to be Division I and then Division I AA. I don't think there was ever a negative connotation like you see now with Power 5, non-Power 5, whatever you want to call them. Here's a statistic that Brett McMurphy had up. In the last 3 years, 127 of the 131 FBS teams have won at least one game as an underdog. The only 4 teams without an upset of a number of times an underdog, Clemson once, Oklahoma twice, Florida Atlantic is 0-10 and South Florida is 0-23.
So you have the two ends of the spectrum. There's 2 teams that are rarely an underdog, 3 teams between the 2 of them, and 2 teams.
And also rarely lose until, of course, Oklahoma's
Yeah.
struggling right now.
And 2 teams that lose all the time and are always the underdog because of that's who they are. So not surprised on FAU.
Now, there's also the story we were about to get to when
South
Willie Fritz called in. Scott Frost, who kind of made, you remember him? I do, but I mean, it's kind of in the rearview mirror. Mickey Joseph is trying to do whatever he can. And it's still, again, it's an uphill battle. So the USA Today sued Nebraska after its custodian of records was denied by a reporter's request for the metrics. The newspaper contended the information should be public under state law. Eventually, a district judge said, no, you have to release the information. You have 7 days to do it. He took $1 million pay cut. Paul, how simple would it have been for him to get the $1 million back?
Win 6 games, go to a bowl game. That's all I had to do.
It wasn't like they said go 8-4.
Well, I don't know.
Play for the Big Ten championship.
Here's why I don't understand. I guess you don't want to release contract stuff, but I don't understand why USA Today had to take this to court for this. Like, this is kind of embarrassing on Nebraska's part why don't you just tell them that? Just send it the information.
To me, it's not protecting Frost, Craig.
Well, I mean, I don't really have a strong opinion on this.
Yeah.
They said, they requested these records, and they got denied. And then Nebraska said that it was a moot point because he was already gone. So what's the big deal? And I don't really have a strong opinion on that whole exchange. But it's interesting to see, the information released. I suppose.
It was not asking him to give up a leg. It was asking Nebraska to go 6-6 on a schedule that was very favorable for them, and get to a bowl game, which you would if you get to 6-6. Right now they're 3-4. They blanked the bed in the opening game against Northwestern. There was the onside kick decision. They also lost at home to Georgia Southern. We're seeing a little bit more of that between schools at that level compared to some Power 5 schools. They were okay in the loss just last week in a game they could have won against Purdue, but Purdue just had too much firepower. Asking them to go 6-6 was not asking too much, and he couldn't do 6-6. And that's why I think Trev Alberts, the AD, saw, okay, listen, we've just lost to Northwestern, and we absolutely made terrible decisions. And I don't know if Northwestern's won since then, maybe once. And we lost at home to Georgia Southern. This is not going to get to 6-6. We got to make a decision. And they did, and he's gone. And that's it. And I don't know what Mickey Joseph gets later on, who gets that job. But they at least are playing what seems like still not as good, but there seems to be a rhyme and a reason. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why Nebraska really hesitated to release the information. I also don't think it's that big of a deal to, expect a coach to go to a bowl game, given all the resources and the expectations in Nebraska. So, had he gone 6-6, gone to a bowl game, shown some improvement, then we're probably talking about something different right now, obviously, but unable to really give the hope that they were going to be going in that direction, or unable to do it, and show enough, and they made the decision that they made, and I think that everybody's, pretty fine with the decision they made. I mean, it was inevitable. We were talking about it before the season even started, and then they come stumbling out of the gates, and it's like, well, what did anybody expect? I just don't know why it's like a cloak of secrecy. I don't either. Because it's really not that big of a deal at all. That's why I'm kind of sitting here like, you wanted to make it okay, like, I don't see anything wrong with wanting to make a bowl game and expecting that out of the coach you're paying a lot of money. So, that seems reasonable.
I just don't like. That's why it's 6-6 and make a bowl game.
You're going to lose that battle anyway.
Yeah,
right?
They're going to lose the battle in court, freedom of information, public state institution. Why they wasted like a lawyer's time, their own lawyer's time on that, I will never know, because it doesn't make sense. Just tell us. It wasn't like it was something weird, right? It wasn't something that was outside the realm. Maybe they just didn't know he had such a low bar to clear that he'd even do that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I understand wanting the information to know exactly how it all unfolded. So when you're writing the book one day, you have like the exact exchange and how that went. But like, as far as what that uncovered,
nothing.
Like,
yeah,
not nothing, but yeah, as far as like, oh wow, like I definitely don't have that reaction in any way. So I'm glad that they're, able to kind of, I guess, not put this behind. This is a blip on the radar, but I'm glad that, that's out there now. It's not a big deal. And, it's one less thing to have to worry about talking about when it comes to Scott Frost, and they can keep going in the direction of making the change that they're, keen to make right now, and are in the process of trying to make, although there's still a half a season left to go. Their coach has been gone for a month now, and there's still another, 2 months to go before the season's even to the postseason stretch of the schedule. So I'm curious to know kind of what their timetable is, and, really get into the meat of who they're looking at and how all that's going to unfold. But yeah, as far as the Scott Frost chapter, I mean, that's even more closed now, and I don't think anything too crazy is going to be coming out of this one.
Somebody brought up in the chat, by the way, Tulane plays Memphis this week.
Yep.
Then they play at Tulsa. They play UCF, SMU, and at Cincinnati. So the meat of their schedule, because of Houston, they beat Houston 27-24. They had the nice win against Kansas State. So the meat of their schedule is coming up at where they are, and it's good to see them peek into the top 25 with what they did this week. All right, we'll break.
Yeah, if you want to.
Let's take a break right here. We'll come back with a couple of nuggets. Kendall Kaut from Kansas City on Big 12 Media Days, and then also a couple of notes about football as well. And we are 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got a lot of great deals going on right now over at Richard Carr. They are the people that you can count on, not only for good options, but great deal over the life of your car, great customer service as well. They will help you out when you're looking for a car, when you're buying the car, and once it's yours and you need a little work on it from time to time. Again, they are the people that you can count on, and I've done business with Richard Carr, can say that that's not just a tagline, that's something that they back up each and every time. But right now, the wait is over. Richard Carr has trucks and SUVs on the lot. 2022 GMC Sierras, Acadias, Terrains have all arrived. They're waiting for you to test drive today. They've also got, when it comes to the vehicles available for test drives, the Cadillac XT4 and XT5 SUV. So new inventory has arrived, but it's kind of a wait to get it. So it's already going fast. Make sure that if you're in the market for some of that new inventory, especially those models, you get on over to the dealership right now. And if you're looking at the Sierra, for example, some of the options with that, some of the superlatives with that vehicle, you got best-in-class towing, multi-pro tailgate, massive touchscreens, 14 camera views, premium comfort, advanced collision avoidance, and so on and so forth. And that's just the GMC Sierra, but they'll tell you all about that model and all the others that you might be interested in when you make your way over to the dealership. But if you get on over there or you're looking online and you don't see exactly what you're looking for, get on their inbound vehicle list. It's another part of the customer service there with Richard Carr, is that's basically a placeholder putting you in line to be up next when the time arrives to get into that new vehicle, whenever that vehicle arrives, as supply chain issues have kind of clogged up the market a little bit. But that's starting to ease, and as that vehicle gets ready to go, you get your name on that inbound vehicle list, and as soon as it's ready, boom, it's yours, and you don't have to continue to wait and hope that you can just contact a dealership and have the right timing to have something available. It's an assurance that you have at not many other places. So new trucks on the lot, dozens of quality pre-owns as well if you're looking to go that route. All pre-owns have gone through a 172-point inspection, and they also have multiple lending options over at the dealership as well. Richard Carr says yes to loans when others say no. For 23 years in Central Texas, Richard Carr is run by proud Wacoans, proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6, the Imperial exit.
Make a winning drive to Genco and refinance your vehicle. Every loan can skip monthly payments for 90 days with rates as low as 3.75% APR for 48 months. Right now is the time to make a play. At Genco, we save you money by helping you pay less for your car. Every loan scores no payments for 90 days. Then have a chance to win 3 more months of no payments. Apply online today for an additional discount of 0.15% off our already low rates. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. For more information, go to GencoFCU.org. Member NCUA.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online, pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
So we have at times been able to dig into what they do. Andrew Marchand and John Alrand with the Sports Business Journal, the podcast they do together. And one of our partners, Brian, said he was able to listen to it. And some of what they did, in fact, I think it was Andrew Marchand who put up a tweet with those eyeballs, Big 12. Here is what at least they are saying could be the parameters of what Brett Yormark is discussing. When we say that they had $42 million apiece last year, they distributed $42 million apiece to the Big 12 schools, and that's what Bob Bowlesby mentioned and eventually handed off to Brett Yormark. That number is not the network money. That is the overall number that they split up in football. That includes bowl games in the college football playoff, which we know that number is about to go way up. And the same thing will be said for whatever the Pac-12 eventually does, among others. And what they are basically saying is that the 12 new teams with the new deal, when it's extended, if in fact it is, like Brett Yormark said, in the next couple of weeks, counting the bowl games and the college football playoff money, which is going to increase dramatically, and whatever the TV deal might be with ESPN, Fox, they could be going, and don't misunderstand me here, from $42 million distribution to possibly a number that could be $60 million. Now, we discussed, and you both said this yesterday, things have changed, inflation. But the college football playoff money is going to be a huge part of that. And then if you can keep where you are plus add maybe 15 or 20% to the TV deal you're getting now, even with Oklahoma and Texas leaving, you look at that number, $60 million, if that is anywhere in the neighborhood, would you take that?
Yeah, I'd take it.
Yeah, and that was kind of my point, is like just the money's naturally going up regardless. Now, I granted it goes back down heavily when you lose Oklahoma and Texas, and like that's where that delicate balance is, I suppose. But I mean, I don't see a scenario with all that's going on that like they're still making $42 million the next time. Like that's just, even with Oklahoma and Texas leaving, that's just not, that doesn't jive. So I figured that, yeah, the number had to go up in some regard, but how much of a blow Oklahoma and Texas actually deliver, like, yeah, it's very curious. And if they can approach 60, that would be great. I think that'd be a lot more than probably majority of people out there who have, dug the grave and, already put dirt on it and, rest in peace Big 12 and all that. Probably deleted a bunch of those tweets, but I saw a lot of those, and that seems to be far from the truth when you're talking about that. Now, granted, it's still far from what, like the SEC or the Big Ten, for example, will be making, but I don't know. It seems like it could be relatively still in the same sort of ballpark of kind of where they are now versus the SEC or the Big Ten to some extent. So not that different from kind of what they're currently in. Just the numbers are different.
They'll be making more than the ACC.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and there's that. Yeah,
and
for
then,
a few years.
And you want the Pac-12 to get it done. And I saw some yapping about the numbers in the Big 12's best game, TCU and Oklahoma State, compared to some of the other games. Here's one thing to remember now.
I told y'all that was going to suck when we started doing that.
$42.6 million is what Bowlesby announced back in July. $42.6 million. Of that, about half of it, 50% of it, in fact, more than that, more than they were getting per the TV contract, was additional money from what they kick in based on bowl games and also the college football playoff. Even though the Big 12 has had minimal impact on the college football playoff, you still have distribution there.
Well, also, this is also, look, they're going to get 42.6 or whatever it's going to be for the next 2 years. And then the $60 million is going to kick in when Texas and Oklahoma are already gone, because they're not going to renegotiate that for the last 2 years. They're just going to let it ride out. That's what all these TV contracts are going to be. So it's not going to be 2023. All of a sudden, all these teams are going to, they've already negotiated that even for the new teams. So.
Well, the college football playoff is going to maybe triple. I don't know what that number is, but
it's going to be nuts.
If you're $20 million, and let's say you get $33 million for the extension, whatever they decide what that's going to be starting in 25, 26, and then you get the college football playoff money, and then you're talking about the bowl money. And by the way, they're going to probably add something to the overall TV deal because the Tier 3, which is ESPN Plus, that might go up a little bit as well because of who you're adding to the conference. And in the end, it's a lot more than anyone could have fathomed or thought back in the fall of last football season.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing, though, is your playoff money's going up, but so is everybody else's. So it's not like, that it's like some great gain. You're still pretty much the same spot that you were with everybody because everybody's getting that bump. You know what I mean?
It's about a 65% increase if you go from 42 to, I think, 60. Counting the money you get. Yeah, you're right. No, everyone else is getting that. Believe me, the Big Ten, the SEC, the ACC.
The SEC is going from 100 to 112 or whatever. So, yeah, it's not like they're gaining ground is my point. But they are, I guess, gaining ground on the Pac, as far as the new deal goes, if all that adds up the way that you say, because it's hard to imagine that they're going to get something similar or to that number, sans USC and UCLA, and they haven't made any move on expansion to add any programs, unlike the Big 12. So I don't know where you're kind of positioning yourself as far as, well, hey, we know we're going to be this in 2 years, and here's what we're going to be, and here's what we're offering you. It doesn't seem like it's quite settled, or if it is, then it's kind of, I don't know. How could it even? It can't be settled because we're still sitting here talking about Oregon, Washington. 8 months into this thing, so I'm very curious about this.
I think Kevin Warren closed the door on that, at least in the next 5 to 7 years.
For now, but it's like you still have to sign a TV contract.
Yeah,
so if you're Oregon and Washington, if it's 5 years down the road, you still have to take that into account with your grant of rights. So they're still not on entirely stable ground, even if they know okay, for the next 5 years it's this. Well, the network's still saying, well, okay. Yeah, but then after 5 years, so you're either going to get a short TV deal that takes full advantage of having those schools while you have them, or it's going to be kind of a mystery as to what exactly you're offering down the road.
I don't think that the Pac-12's problem is probably the TV networks. I'm sure the TV networks are offering them what they're going to get based on their current configuration. The problem to me would be inside the Pac-12 is, you probably have some teams that they're offering us a 5-year deal, an 8-year deal,
right,
and a 10-year deal. And you've got a couple schools that are 5. And they're like, but what happens after 5? Well, we'll tell you in 5 years.
That's what I mean, yeah.
And so if you're the other schools in the Pac-12, you're like, do we
how do
sign
a grant of rights?
How do you feel about a 5-year thing? Yeah, I mean,
how long is it for? It can't be 10 years.
Especially if 3 years in, they're like, okay, well, 2 years from now, we're going to.
Exactly.
And then they torpedo the last 2 years.
You're going to sign a 10-year deal, and then 2 years from now, Kevin Warren's like, hey, we're open for business again, and hey, here come Oregon. So that to me is what's problematic for the Pac, is just the uncertainty of exactly what they are looking at. You feel, okay, when USC and UCLA are leaving, but beyond that, what kind of concrete assurances do you have as far as the rest of the league goes and for how long? Whereas with the Big 12, you at least know, hey, 4 schools are coming in. They're losing 2. We kind of have a better idea of when they're going to lose those 2. So it looks like a couple of seasons, we're going to have this conference at its absolute maximum. And then, it'll get down to the new league when that new contract kicks in. But you have those, what's coming. Whereas with the Pac, there's still a lot of, uncertainty about just how concrete the foundation is. And I find that a fascinating element to their TV negotiations and kind of what that ultimately brings. But circling back, for the Big 12, I mean, it's good to know that they have kind of a solid number in mind, and they can plan around that and potentially, boost that even further. My only question is to have a TV deal potentially at this point is just, is it possible to have checked every box in your negotiations and all of the things that you could possibly do as far as streaming and things? Like, is it almost too quick to where it's like, how could they have something like, how could it be this quick?
If ESPN and Fox say they want to keep you and they were willing to also then promote you, the new Big 12, and it's a number that you like or is a number you think is fair, I don't think there's a decision.
Well, yeah, and we'll learn that. I'm just saying now, not knowing the numbers, it's curious to me that they could possibly be done this quickly, given all of the different intangibles that are in play, from streaming networks to rights tiers and all those different types of things. But yeah, if they've already got a couple networks lined up saying, hey, here's what we're guaranteeing you, and this is a big number that we're sure you'll like, and that's good enough for them, great. But just given how sort of the Big Ten's negotiations dragged out, granted they've got different inventory. The Pac-12's is still going on right now. Granted, they've got different circumstances as we've outlined. The Big 12 is to just boom, zip, be done like that is just kind of surprising. So I'd be very curious to know what sort of offer they got to make this such a quick negotiation.
We'll keep up with that. In fact, time for me to get in touch with Bob Thompson again and his thoughts about it as well. Plus, coming up next, Kendall Cowd at the Big 12 Men's Basketball Media Days. His thoughts about what he heard. A bunch of teams ranked in the top 25. Baylor in at 6. KU, of course, right in front of them, among others. Texas is high. Golly, I just went blank. Texas Tech ranked, among others. That's next on 365 Sports. Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco is Baylor's at home on Saturday, 11 o'clock. It's kind of an earlier game, so maybe your tailgate food, maybe it changes a little bit, more of a brunch or just flat-out breakfast. I remember one game back in the day, maybe just 3 or 4 years ago, when it was an early 11 o'clock kickoff. It was cold, like it is kind of cool right now. And there were guys, lots of different people cooking. They're still doing brisket, and they had the tri-tip, and they had sausage and wings and all their dips and stuff like that. But they were cooking a lot of egg-related type queso and also breakfast tacos and breakfast burritos, and it was delicious. And the smell was fantastic. And by the way, all of that, eggs and bacon and sausage and more, available at Waco Custom Marketplace, along with charcoal and pellet fuel. And they have what you need when it comes to all of the beef, if that's what you want, when it comes to brisket, tri-tip, or all sorts of different, options of sausage and chicken wings as well. You want Rotel cans, you got that as well. Queso dip, they have that as well. Bakery, butcher shop, and a great place, your hometown grocery store, Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgan Ford. It's that time of year. It's football season, and BK Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football teams in Texas, right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, led by our leading rusher, the F-150, 45 years in a row. Lock in your best price and rate today by custom ordering your new F-150 at BK Ford. Simple, easy, trusted. Experience better at Bird Colgan Ford.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance, and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneeredboys.com.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Take it to Mathis. Daniels. Oh, he throws it right back to him. It's Dylan Doyle.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
This 4 o'clock hour will also include Keontae George, Baylor's exciting freshman from IMG Academy, be a part of the show at about 4:45. We're now joined by Kendall Cowdy. He's been in Kansas City for the Big 12 men's and women's basketball media days, including today. And Kendall, thanks for your time. I want to start with yesterday. You were around that clump of people when Brett Yormark was discussing some things about the conference in the future. Anything in particular that was what stood out most to you? Because it seemed like the main thing was that Texas and OU were staying, and we've discussed that for the last 24 hours.
Yeah, Smokey always happy to be on. He did mention that he expects OU and Texas to stay. Obviously, with OU and Texas, you can trust them until in the middle of the night they're telling you they're going to the SEC. So we all know what it's worth when OU and Texas give you their word. But on the flip side, it is a long negotiated process if you want to leave the conference. And so for neither of them to have approached the Big 12 yet about wanting to leave early, sign that both programs are okay, waiting out the next 2 years in the conference. And then if you're Oklahoma, I don't know what in the world you'd want to do to get to the SEC any faster. I mean, if you can't score a point on Texas in the Big 12, you're probably not going to score any points on them in the SEC.
Kendall, are you just trying to stir that fire pit again? Are you, oh my Lord. Kendall was very low on Oklahoma.
No, but Kendall, you did. You have some Twitter receipts from people I know, and I contacted you at the KU game when it did. But did you ever clap back, or did you just decide to let it go?
So I would never let it go. Those people were vile to me. They said insulting things, and so some people say when they go low, we go high. I go even lower, and so I wish Oklahoma the best. I think someday they might get bowl eligible again, but probably not this year. But I wish them the best. They'll always have that time they lost by 28 or 35 to LSU in the playoffs.
Kendall, so this is the best basketball conference in the country. And I heard Bill Self say today about, look, you're in the last 3 national championship games. You've won 2 of them. It has gotten deeper. It has gotten better. Where do you think Baylor stands among that as they try to get back to the Final Four?
I think you can make an argument for any of Baylor, KU, Texas, or TCU is the best team in the conference. But I think the strongest argument is that either Baylor or KU is the top team in the league. I saw Adam Flagler today. The guy's jacked. I never seen him that big. He'd been working out with Jared Butler this summer. He told me lifting well, playing well. I talked to John Jacobs a few weeks back, and he said Adam's been exclusively running the point. He's been playing extremely well for the Bears this season. So I think Baylor should be favored. The coaches picked him to win the league. The front court remains a bit of a question, but we saw Flo Thamba really stepped up after Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua went out last season. So I think on paper, the Bears are the best team in the league. Obviously, having to go to Allen Fieldhouse and with how good KU could be, if everything comes together, makes that a little dicey. But TCU and Texas are going to be really good as well. And then once again, maybe you can make the argument K-State or Iowa State won't be very good, but I think every team in the Big 12 is a top 80 team nationally. So it's really about avoiding those losses when you play a team that's closer to 80 and a team that's closer to 10.
Kendall, was there any particular team or storyline or coach that you were looking forward to maybe talking to or hearing something from based on just off-season angles and storylines? Is there anything that was particularly top of mind for you heading into the media days?
Craig, I got a chance to ask Mike Boynton in the main section about, does it feel unfair to you that you all had to miss a year of NCAA tournament play for an assistant coach giving Jeffrey Carroll $1,000 who wasn't even on your staff at the time, and Memphis has multiple level 1 violations. I didn't mention KU, but I think that was kind of unstated in the question. And Mike Boynton just mentioned, he said it sucks that we're going to be a footnote of history that I think will be the last team to ever have a postseason tournament ban. But he mentioned that he was happy that that's going to be the case because he felt it's unfair that the kids are punished when it's the coaches doing things. So I was interested in how he would respond to it. And, it's an admirable stance to have for Mike Boynton. But he did reiterate that it was very unfair. And I think I agree with him what happened to the Cowboys on that front.
So with what Baylor has, and it appears Flagler, Cryer, and also Langston Love, after the torment of injuries that they dealt with last year, and Love was out for the year, that they all have gone through the process, the offseason, and they're back, obviously, and healthy. And then you add Keontae George. How do you split up, and I know there's others, but how do you split up the guard play, and who plays where?
And this is a question I've asked kind of consistently, both of Scott Drew today, the 3 guards who were at media days, John Jacobs, some of the graduate assistants I talked to, and there are, I think, 2 cases you can make. The first is that you know how good Adam Flagler, LJ Cryer, Keontae George will all be. Just play them 35 minutes a night and deal with that. The second one, though, is you maybe just play them 30 minutes a night, get Dale Bonner involved. LJ Cryer and Adam Flagler both said he's by far the most improved guy on the roster. And then Langston Love, as you mentioned, Smokey, a high 4-star recruit, set out last season. You have all those bridges. There are a lot of ways you can kind of reach the solution that are pretty good. I think ultimately I would lean toward I don't want to have Adam Flagler, Keontae George, or LJ Cryer off the court, but I think there are a lot of different ways that this team can succeed.
Texas Tech's ranked 25th, and that surprised me because we know how good they are at home and also what the coach is building and what he's built there. But, yeah, they lost McCullough to a competitor in Kansas, among some others as well. Why are they low? Is that low or is that about where you expect them to be?
I think it's kind of a fair compromise ranking, Smokey. I think you can make the argument Tech should be top 15. Mark Adams is a defensive genius. Kept the program rolling last year when people thought they might fall off. Davion Harmon transfers in from Oregon after playing at Oklahoma, where he was a really good player. Kevin O'Banner didn't shoot quite as well as he wanted to last season, but probably will only get better in the second season after bringing Oral Roberts. We know how loud they make it at United Supermarkets Arena. So I think there's a fair case for that. On the flip side, if you live by the transfer portal, some season you'll die by the transfer portal, and that's a lot of new guys for him. Major injury on the roster already to open the season. So I think 25 is a fair place. I know the Tech faithful are very active on Twitter, and I can only fight with one Big 12 fan base at a time. So I don't want to fight Tech. I think it's reasonable. You should be ranked higher. I wish you all the best in life. I have no qualms with you being ranked higher, but I think it's also fair to rank them 25th.
Kendall, can Texas be more cohesive this year? Because last year, they were a good team, but their problem was it took them, 20 games or so to really feel out who they were supposed to be.
I think it's possible, Paul. It really comes down, I think, for Texas to how well they shoot from 3. They bring in Tyrese Hunter, the star guard from Iowa State, who was able to foist them into the Sweet 16 last year with a roster that probably wasn't Sweet 16 quality. Marcus Carr probably underachieved last season. So you figure a bounce back from him, where he looks more like the player he was at Minnesota, mixed with Hunter, could be a really good team. But concurrently, you got the problem that if they're team 150 in 3-point percentage, people pack it in the paint. Maybe the fouls aren't called quite as tightly as they want them to get called in Austin. Maybe Texas is 11-7 again this year, and maybe a tier below the Baylor, KU, and even TCU's in the world. But I do see a world where Texas underachieved last year. Year 2 now for Chris Beard there. Tyrese Hunter's a great player, par rebounds, and they could be a real force in this league.
Kendall, where's your Keontae George stock at this point?
Greg, it's very high. And when I talked to him today, it was clear that they've really got Keontae George NBA ready. You asked him a question. I was like, hey, what's your favorite thing to do at Waco that's not playing basketball? And he's like, oh. And so he's got I got 8 answers I need to give. They're not going to cancel me before he hits the NBA. Ready to go. But his gameplay is incredible. I asked Scott Drew about him as a freshman. Certainly Quincy Miller, Jared Butler, Perry Jones, Isaiah Austin. There have been a bevy of talented freshmen that have come through Baylor. But Drew recognized, and I think most people recognize, he was the pick of the Athletic in the media poll I participated in as the Big 12 Player of the Year, that he could be a really good player. He could be dominant, and he might be the best freshman Baylor's ever had. And I think he's very likely to be a top 10 pick in the next NBA draft.
So how and where does Caleb Lohner fit into this? I watched the games they played up in Canada. They were kind of, I don't want to use the word I wanted to say was like dysfunctional, because again, some of those guys just met each other, and it was great that they got to play those games and learn from each other. They were missing players, but I didn't quite know really what his role is going to be. Thought he would be more physical. We had him on earlier this week, or last week. Is he going to be a power forward type guy, whatever you want to call him, a 4, a 5, whatever?
Yeah, so Smokey, I think he'll begin the year playing primarily the 4. I had a chance to ask both Scott and the players today about, is Caleb Lohner going to be more of a small ball 5, kind of like Mark Vidal was in what I dubbed those 5-hole lineups, America's best lineup or America's hero. And so Lohner's 3-point shot wasn't quite what he wanted at BYU. We know about the injuries he'd had. But I think ultimately, and Scott Drew kind of got into this, if they think by the end of the year they'll close some games with Lohner as a 5, that'll improve their spacing. They plan to play more of everyone outside the 3-point line this season, because Scott Drew reiterated to me and kind of like looked me in the eye and said, we really can shoot the ball this season. And so I think if you add one more weapon to the court, they'll want to close games with Caleb Lohner. And even if the opponent can run down and make it 2, they're going to make so many threes, they'll live with that trade-off. So end of the year, I think Lohner closes games a lot at the 5. But Drew also told me today that, Flo Thamba, really good. He was great for us at the end of last season. And that Josh O is who he thinks might be the most improved guy from the start of the year to the end of the year.
Kendall, you also watch what Baylor football's done. And on occasion, you'll sit there and put something out about what you see, the trends you see. What, from your perspective, obviously they are who their record says they are, but from your perspective, what's missing?
Sure, and so I got to, own a little bit up to this. I didn't think Baylor would be a playoff team, but I thought they would be in the Big 12 championship game before the season. I think I really underestimated how much the secondary would take a step back. We certainly knew how talented Jalen Petrie is and how excellent he's been for the Texans this season, and what Terrell Bernard would be to replace. But the secondary, I think, has been a real disappointment for the Bears. I don't know if that means new personnel. I don't know if that means they want to switch up coverages this late in the campaign. I think the secondary not living up to expectations has really hampered them. I'd be shocked if Baylor made it back to Arlington this season, but Baylor's, turned it around on a dime before, and hopefully they can do so again.
Do you think that the defensive line has hurt that secondary a little bit?
I think they have a little bit, Paul. I don't think they've lived up to expectations. I think entering the year, it seemed like Baylor had one of the 2 best defensive lines in the country. And, Travis knows far more about football than me, but I think even he would recognize this is probably closer to defensive line 25. And it would be kind of like if Baylor basketball's backcourt finished at 25. A lot of years you could say, well, that's pretty good, top 25 backcourt. But when you expect to have a top 2 or 3 backcourt, or you expect to have a top 2 or 3 defensive line, your defensive line 25, that really doesn't help out a young secondary. So I think everything defensively has really been a disappointment. I think the secondary sticks out to me as most disappointing. The defensive line certainly has their share of blame as well.
You were also at Women's Media Day, which was yesterday, and obviously there's been a little bit of a shift. And Baylor ranked outside, I think, the top 10, and Texas is like 2 or 3 in what they have and winning the championship, the tournament, at least last year. Anything from that you gained?
I think I gained that they really don't care at all about their ranking. They're focused on a lot of other stuff, and so I think they're okay with it. I was shocked Baylor was picked 4th. I think if you win 12 straight conference titles, kind of like when KU was doing that on the men's side, you should just pick them every year until they don't win it. But they seem pretty focused on what they have, obviously with the incoming Big 12 newcomer of the year from Missouri, incoming Big 12 freshman of the year, certainly losing 2 top 10 picks to the W, as I found out that's the abbreviation they call it, which I thought was really cool. Losing 2 top 10 picks to the W hurts the Bears. But with what they have coming back, what they've added, I still think Baylor should be the favorites in women's basketball.
Kendall, thank you. Be careful. Kendall Kaut with us, Sick on 365 college basketball writer and analyst, and does a great job covering not just Baylor but the entire Big 12, and then also what he does and brings to the table on his football knowledge, or at least his breakdowns analytically, kind of like Sam Bradshaw, who just put something up a couple minutes ago at Baylor_S11. He'll join us on Friday. So a question about a couple things here. One, there's a story that is kind of now developing that Burton, the wide receiver at Alabama, while he was coming off the field, may have been involved in an altercation. He might have punched somebody. There's a video, there's a frame, a still picture, and Nick Saban today addressed that they know of the situation. We'll get into that in the next segment. Here's a question as well from the 832. Is it better to have a solid overall conference with all teams being at least decent or better, like the Big 12, or top-heavy like the Big 10?
Well, at least for money so far, it's been to being top-heavy like the Big 10.
They're not getting money because they're top-heavy, though. They're getting money because they've got schools that are 100-plus years old that have been around for, that's part of why. Big city fan bases.
Yeah. As far as being able to sell that you're better than one or the other, then I think top-heavy is kind of where people lean. But I think it's better to have a deep conference.
Well, what are you asking me? Are you asking me as a TV executive and a conference commissioner? Or are you asking me as a college football fan? Because as a college football fan, I'd much rather watch the Big 12 top to bottom than watch the Big 10 top to bottom. Not even a question in my mind. And if you disagree, I mean, we can have the conversation. But I don't know, man. I'd take the bottom of the Big 12, which is still that's like Baylor versus Kansas, which on paper may not really be enticing. But I tell you, that'll probably be a hell of a football game here around the corner versus – some of the options that you might get out of the Big Ten's bottom rung right now, I don't know. I'll take what they've got cooking in the Big 12 at the moment. Now, if I'm talking as a conference commissioner, if I'm talking as a TV executive, give me Ohio State, Michigan on TV. No matter that's the thing though, is it doesn't even matter what their record is, guys. I suppose if they're undefeated, then maybe a couple million more people watch, but they're going to get 5 million regardless of what they are.
Yeah.
They could both be 0-7. They're going to get millions of viewers. You could have two undefeated Big 12 teams, Baylor and, Texas Tech, and they might not scratch what middle of the road Ohio State, Michigan might get. So I think that's a question where, you got to kind of clarify the angle. But if it's all about money and eyeballs, then you'll take the big brands of the Big 10. But if you're actually wanting to enjoy the product top to bottom, then I think it's the Big 12 without question.
John Baptist, to wrap up this segment, saying I can't believe those numbers that I mentioned at the end of last.
Same here.
Okay, all we can do is, you're right. It surprised me as well. But if you take the $20 million they were getting per school, and you have inflation, which I know is relative, and then you add in the new money in the college football playoff, and then you add two networks that need to fill content. They're not going to just give it away because they're not going to do that for the Pac-12. They're not going to just do that. But if you look at the numbers and what you get in some of the additions, $42 million to $60 million would be a huge jump. But most of that I would think, and I don't know what the numbers are going to be, would be from the college football playoff, which is going to be in the hundreds and millions of dollars before it's all said and done.
It's not even that I'm necessarily surprised by the numbers. I'm surprised just in general, like our texture there, but I'm surprised that it could possibly be done this quickly. That's what I'm surprised by. They had to have, obviously, some reassurance from the partners they're going to be partnering with, which is sticking with who they've been with. So, obviously talks have been easy there because you're already, working together. But it's just puzzling to me that with all these options that people talk about and all these streaming things and all these different networks, not only did they get an assurance that they liked from the people they're already working with, but didn't you have to also get some assurance from the outside parties that they're just not interested at all? So that's what I'm curious to see is, did that all get sorted out that quickly?
Yep.
And it's so great. They don't have to drag this out and make it a whole big production. But, it's just surprising to me that with so many different directions that you could go and so many different moving parts that they could already be at a point where they know.
And the question is, how long is the extension? Because that right. Also has a lot.
Yeah, details matter.
Here's one other thing. Why would it take so long to know what one of those streaming services might add to the mix? Why? It's a phone call. I didn't mean you're going to get an answer right away.
Well,
it's not that I get meetings, whatever, but to me this is pretty simple. Yormark seems to understand that part of the business. He's been very much entrenched in it before. But to me, it doesn't. Why would it take 3 or 4 months to find out? And unless you were like negotiated against somebody else, I don't know why that wouldn't be. Amazon tells him this is what we're going to do, or whoever it's going to be, because I don't understand the streaming sometimes myself. I don't know why it would take too long. This is what we're going to do. Okay. No, we're not going to. Yeah, maybe they're playing games. I don't know. Maybe they're playing poker, and maybe Yormark just feels good. Let's stay with the two that can give us the most attention and also be the most stable.
Yeah, I guess the point is that they weren't even it's not even their turn to bat. Yeah. Technically, it's not even their turn to bat. So I'm just saying, before they're not even going to the open market. That's the point. Yeah. They're not going to the open market. So, that's what I'm saying is I'm curious to know of why are they not going to the open market? Did they get such a great deal from their current partners that they're like, we don't even need to test the rest of it? Or did everybody else say, yeah, we're not really that interested? Or if we are, it's for half of what they'll offer. And that's what I'm saying is how would you not in this landscape go to the open market?
What if ESPN and Fox gave them a number or at least said, hey, we want to wrap this up too. We want to move on with this too. What if they gave them a number that was a little bit higher than they thought?
Well, then it answers my question.
Yeah, but also, what's the open market? That's the thing that the Pac-12 is navigating right now, because what could CBS or NBC, who that's the rest of the open market, right? So what can they offer that they haven't already filled?
Well, here's the thing.
So I don't think there's much of an
open market. Go to the open market until 24.
That's my point. Yeah. So clearly if they're already getting a deal done, that's why I'm interested to know why you would already be getting it done if you're not even going to the open market.
My point on the open
stability. That's my point.
Okay, well there's the answer.
And also, stability, but what is the open market? I don't think the open market is what everybody thinks it is.
This is not like if, for example, Shohei Ohtani went into the open market. We understand that's going to be a $1 billion contract or whatever it's going to be.
You're hoping that you can convince CBS to veer off their programming strategy of the last 30 years of, when you look at CBS as a whole network, everything they do is the same as they've always done it.
Yeah.
I mean, not even just Monday night is the night for the NCIS shows, and Tuesday night is this night, and Wednesday night is the reality shows, and so on and so on. Yeah. And Saturday is for the one conference we have a deal with. So they're not in the water, really.
Are they the ones that walk around in the brown jacket? That they're still wearing the old days?
Yeah, I mean, they're very old school.
They're very conservative.
So, they're very old school when it comes to what they're doing. So if ESPN and Fox are in it, and that's the one who have the biggest thing, okay, so now you go to NBC because you need a network partner for this, right? Well, NBC might add a Big 12 game on the weeks that they don't have Notre Dame and the Big 10 back-to-back, but that's a big if.
Justin, if the Big 12, this is on the chat room, we appreciate you and being a part of it. If the Big 12 was to go to the open market, which again won't be till 24 if they get there, the league is going to get poached. Bob Kramer, open market has only so many players with only a limited time to fill.
Right, and that, I understand that, but here we were a few months ago, and we're talking about maybe Turner gets involved, and so what I'm saying is that's interesting to me. Is that they are not even attempting to go to the open market. So, guys, what does that tell us? That tells us a lot of answers. That tells us that Turner has no interest in getting into the Big 12 or perhaps college football. That tells us that, ESPN now has this inventory, so that's one less thing they can do perhaps for others over here. It's going to tell us a lot in terms of kind of what this future looks like because it's going to put the Big 12 in place. And so I'm just saying I'm curious. This is all I keep repeating. I'm curious to know the details so that we understand why – yeah, and that's all I'm saying.
And some people are trying to help clarify it from their end of it. We appreciate it. From Arlo 220. The Big 12 is the ugly girl in braces who grows up to be a smoke show that everyone wants. Arlo 220, thanks for the chat. Maybe that's true. When we come back, we'll have a couple more nuggets to get to, but also at 4:45 today, we'll hear from Baylor freshman guard, the All-American, and Keontae George. This is 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, lowt.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man you want to be, need to be, and used to be. And you may see constantly on television, ED, pills, whatever names of the businesses are, and helping you out if you have some kind of an issue with your sex drive or you have issues with ED. Dr. Kent Petty can help you with that as well. But it's more than just that. Testosterone levels can drop. Testosterone levels in men, as you get older, 1 out of every 3 to 4 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. And yes, the one that gets the most attention and probably can be traumatizing could be your sex drive drops. You have ED. You have something going on that's not right. He can help you with that with testosterone shots and injections. He'll then set you up. This is how you find out if the testosterone is the problem. It may not be. Set you up to get your lab work, take care of it for you, get the results, contact you if your testosterone level is too low, and put you in a program to increase your testosterone level so you can become the high-performance man you want to be, need to be, and used to be at pettycliniclowt.com.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed and kids club, 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Hi, this is Paul Catalina. I recently got engaged to the love of my life, but the most important thing that I had to do before I popped the question was get that perfect ring. And I know nothing about rings. So I went to the wedding ring store, Boozer's Jewelers on Valley Mills Drive. I knew I needed a custom design, and that's exactly what they do. 9 out of 10 of their engagement rings are designed in-house. The entire process took less than a month, and they were great every step of the way. Great options on financing, excellent selection, and talented designers. My fiance and I get nonstop compliments on the ring. I only deserve credit for doing the smartest thing I could, walking into Boozer's and letting them work their magic. Your one-of-a-kind fiance deserves a one-of-a-kind ring, and that's what you get at Boozer's. Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store on Valley Mills Drive.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
All right, so Garrett, put up the note. Nick Saban today there's a story that's out there now about Jermaine Burton striking a Tennessee Vols fan. But let's go to this as the first part. Nick Saban responds to a video that appears to show wide receiver Jermaine Burton striking a Vols fan when UT fans engulfed the field. Saban, we are aware of the situation with Jermaine Burton as he was exiting the field Saturday. We are currently working to gather more information. Now, we're not going to convict someone based on what we're about to show you or not, but then there's a couple of other things out here. There may be a lot more to this than we know. But here's the video. Walking off the field, and he reaches out. Now, whether he went to push the camera or what, okay? Now there's this video, a still photo from far distance of there's a female, and Burton's in red circle. And again, I don't know if he was pushing the camera away, if he was, we don't know that. But this could be something that, and my God, in this day and age of social media, this is would be more important than anything else on earth. But Paul?
Yeah, he shouldn't have done it. I mean, again, it's on the field. It's, emotions are high. But yeah, Jermaine Burton should have done it. I'm curious to see what Nick Saban decides as discipline for him, because there's got to be something, even swatting somebody's cell phone out of their hand. Not something you should do, and is going to get you in a sticky wicket. What if he broke the phone? That's going to, there's all these minor little things that could happen. So, yeah, shouldn't have done it. It's letting his emotions get the better of him. I don't know. I don't know if they suspended him, he'd be that big of a loss. Even transferring from Georgia, how much have you heard his name this year? Not that much, so.
One is it's still assault. One is, let's see, mentioning that he's a punk. He punched a chick as well. Well, that was, I think, a woman, a female that he is seen at least possibly striking. So this will go viral, and we'll see what happens. And, Craig, I asked, again, you had the person who ran on the NFL field for a cause, and he got hammered by who? Who was it? Bobby Wagner? He was on the field. There were how many? 50,000 students or 50,000 fans on the field? We don't know. You just walk off the field, take your loss, no matter the situation. Just stay in control and walk off the field.
Yeah, I just wasn't understanding your comparison to the fan on the NFL side of it.
The fan on the field ran on the field. The reaction was, "Don't go on the field."
Right.
Well, and so the reaction, could it not also be, don't go on the field? Even your storm. We're seeing a lot of these. It's happened for years. It's not the first time. Won't be the last time.
I kind of get where you're coming from with that, but the guy in the NFL game ran out there by himself. This was post-game celebrating, rushing the field. Those are two entirely different situations as far as when you're telling somebody to get off the field. The guy's interrupting the game to make some protest of some sort. This girl's out there with, 100,000 other people in the immediate vicinity, and she's just running on the field. Now, I need more details before I convict him and send him to jail for assault. That's where I'm coming from. I don't think that those two situations are close at all. You could say that about 90,000 other people that are out there. Why didn't they get hit? You know what I mean? They're just celebrating. The game was over. I don't know the details. I don't know if, he's, alleged that she said something, or perhaps she did. I don't know enough outside of that shaky video. It does look like he struck her to some extent, but how physical it was, I don't know any details, and I really don't feel comfortable, putting him on trial here and coming up with an immediate, he should be this. It clearly doesn't look good. If he hit her, and it was malicious, it appears that it could be, then suspend him and give him some sort of punishment. But that's not for me to decide. That's for Nick Saban and Alabama to gather those details. But if they find that he assaulted somebody, absolutely he should be punished for it. Absolutely, no question about that. Vernon, I don't blame her for being on the field when everybody else in Knoxville, Tennessee was. So, yeah.
Japhus Cavill, fans should not be on the field. Vernon, who knows how much control the player has?
If you want to argue that they should never be out there, then that's another topic. Yes. But saying in this instance, they're it's her fault for being out there. Well, so was everybody else. But if you want to say in general that just nobody should be out there and this would be avoided, then okay, that's a reasonable argument.
Red Wine 65, I could see if it's a crazy male fan coming right at him, but a girl with a camera, really? From Vivid Psychosis, offsetting charges play on. Vernon, it's Bama. They will get him out of it. From Jason, people who run on the field should get a trespassing charge. It's unsafe for fans to run down onto the field. That was a mass of humanity, but it always is, whether it's TCU or if it's A&M or
University's not all that sorry about it, right? I mean, the way that they're
so sorry they're fundraising for goalposts,
yeah,
Paul.
Exactly. They're not sorry about it, so that's not going to change.
I don't know the answer to it. I really don't. But again,
it's a bad look.
It's a bad look.
Yeah, it's a bad look, but I don't think that we have nearly enough from that shaky, muted video. At least maybe there's noise to it too, and I'll have to watch that later. I'm just really hearing about it, but not a good look for Jermaine Burton, and hopefully whatever justice needs to be taken is taken. But let's see.
We'll come back. Keontae George, Baylor's All-American incoming freshman, will join us. He's been at Big 12 Media Days. Baylor's, I think, about landed back in Waco, so we'll hear from him in a moment. This is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat with Ram trucks and all the SUVs and Jeep and all the brands they have that are great. Vehicles all over their lot. All the incentives, discounts, and more. Bottom line is if you need a car, truck, or SUV, a vehicle, that is a great place to go. Then they have a fantastic array of also pre-owned cars to get to, which is sometimes difficult to find even today. They also tomorrow, this is awesome, going to have a Carter blood drive. Carter blood bus is going to be on their premises a little bit after noon. And this is the opportunity for you to donate blood. I did about 4 to 5 months ago. Donate blood for those who need it. Remind donors, again, first of all, eat a nice breakfast or lunch, and then drink plenty of fluids throughout the day, and also even the day before. So right now, Carter Blood Care no longer requires donors to wear a mask, but donors may do what they feel comfortable doing. However, the staff will comply with the organizational policy, so you don't have to wear a mask if that's something that's been a turnoff for you as well. So, give back. Carter Blood Drive, Carter Blood Care, Carter Blood Bus will be on the campus at Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat tomorrow, a little bit after 12 o'clock at Loop 340 in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
We're fighting hard at Pickup Outfitters in our battle to end truck nudity. But it's not just about putting an outfit on a naked truck, it's about making sure you have the very best customer service. So we offer the Pickup Outfitters Lifetime Installation Guarantee. Over time, sometimes your outfit needs a little tune-up, maybe some tightening, adjusting, whatever. If you outfitted your truck at Pickup Outfitters, that tune-up is absolutely no charge for the remainder of the time you own that truck. We also offer free warranty assistance. If for any reason you need to use your warranty, you just bring it back to us and we take care of it. It just makes sense. I mean, operating without a promise like that would be like offering customer service in the nude. And if you've seen our staff, trust me, you don't want that. So do your part to end truck nudity by outfitting your truck, Jeep, SUV, or van at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco, where we promise to serve you fully clothed. Check out our website, createacommotion.com.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. you feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Want more updates during the day? Follow 365 Sports YT on Twitter.
All right, one note. We're waiting on Keontae George of Baylor. One note that Craig was saying as I was closing out the conversation again, tomorrow, blood drive at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Just after somewhere between 12 and 12:30, the bus will arrive on their campus. You said there's a story out about he was booked?
No, yeah, like somebody put out there that Jermaine Burton had been arrested, but I went on to say that I don't think that it was true because I haven't seen it anywhere else. So I don't know if that's true or not. I was just commenting that there was a story from somebody that had indicated he had been arrested, but I see it absolutely nowhere else, and I don't know what to believe. I don't have enough information here to confirm that or not. So, yeah, if that was true, then I guess we got our answer on what kind of punishment could be coming his way from the authority side. But, again, I don't know if that's true or not. So, yeah, I don't know.
I've seen the video from a couple of different angles, and it actually, as he's walking off the field, and again, I'm not being the judge and the jury, whatever, but as she's walking on the field, it's probably one of the biggest moments. She's happy, excited, whatever, and he's walking off the field, and she actually, as she's getting closer to him, actually veers to the left to try to, you think, I don't know if she said something, but she veers to the left, and then he reaches out, either tries to smack the camera or hits her in the head or pops her head, whatever. And she stops for a second. She's like, that just happened to me. So I'm not sure how we'll see what's going on with that. All right, been told that Keontae right now not yet available, so we'll work on the possibility. I want to get into this. That Aaron Lockett will join us, by the way, a little bit after 5 o'clock, former Kansas State All-American. This is not college football, but it's enough to where you're talking about mega names here in the NFL. The NFL owners are discussing whether or not they should extend Roger Goodell's contract as a commissioner of the NFL. In fact, we might be getting him here in just a second. But there was a confrontation or a little bit of a back and forth between Jerry and Bob Kraft, two mega owners in the NFL, over what they're trying to do, whether it's going to extend it. 31 owners voted to extend it, or at least go into the discussions to extend it, and one owner said no, voted no, and apparently that owner who said no is Jerry. And Jerry wants to make sure all the T's are crossed and all the I's dotted and all of that other stuff as well. We're now joined by Baylor freshman from IMG Academy, Keontae George. Big 12 Media Days in Kansas City over, and Keontae joins Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, and David Smoak. Keontae, thank you very much. How do you kind of explain just the day you've had at the Media Days?
Oh, it was a great experience for me. Just as far as seeing all the players and all the reporters coming up asking us questions and just giving them a rundown of what we've been working on and just giving us some goals for not just me but some goals for my team as well. So I was blessed to be a part of a day like that.
Keontae, Does it get you like more excited, more impatient for the actual season start? I mean, you had the summer where you guys played together in the tournament in Canada, and then you're here to practice. You're at media days. How antsy are you to do it for real?
No, I'm really excited. To go out there and compete with my brothers. I can't wait. I'm itching to get on the floor, play my first college game. So, like I said, I can't wait to go out there and compete.
Keontae, how do you deal with being so young and already having so much attention and so many expectations?
I think it just comes with, having great people around you. The staff has done a great job for me just, instilling good information in my head each and every day. That's been a big thing for me on why I came here. And, it's just been helping me through this process each and every day, just enjoying the process, not skipping steps. Like I said, just, keeping my mind right, keeping a great headspace, and, just keeping the main thing.
To follow up on what Craig asked you, has it ever gotten to the point where it's a little overwhelming?
No, I appreciate everything that comes my way. Like I said, it's a blessing to have a lot of things come my way, and I don't take anything for granted. At the end of the day, the ball's gonna stop bouncing. So, as far as how I'm playing the game that I love, everything that comes towards me, I'm gonna appreciate everything.
Keontae George, Baylor freshman, with us, 365 Sports.
Specifically, this group of guards, how fun is it just those guys who play at guard for you guys to create matchup issues for everybody?
Man, we got a lot of weapons on this team. It's fun playing with all the guys. Different guys can do different things, and, what they do it at a high level. It's just fun seeing all the guys, all the work that they put in, and I just can't wait for y'all to see what they've been working on.
I've heard Flagler. We keep hearing Flagler's pretty jacked. Is he getting ripped up?
Yeah, he's getting big for sure.
Keontae George, the amount of weapons you mentioned, sometimes you have to worry about are there enough basketballs. I don't think that's ever a problem with the Scott Drew team. Have you seen any of that at all during the summer or the workouts?
Oh, not at all. I feel like with this group, we all have a common goal. And I feel like, once we have that common goal, we're going to play for each other. And that's the thing here. We have a great culture here. Our culture of joy. We play for each other. Ourselves, as far as individual, it's last. So, I think that just comes with the type of culture that we have here. And, it carries us to the court.
Keontae, what's it been like to go from being the guy talking to these coaches on the phone or FaceTiming or, visiting or doing all that to being with them on a daily basis, day in and day out?
It's really different during that process. But, like I said, the reason I'm here is because, they never lied to me. And, things they told me throughout this process, as far as the Baylor coaching staff, they were telling the truth. And, each and every day they keep me accountable, instilling me different, information that they pass it down to me. Like I said, just making me better each and every day. And, like I said, I'm blessed to have a staff like that really believes in me. And, like I said, just instilling me each and every day.
Has there ever been a shot at a big moment that you thought you couldn't make?
I just trust my work. I know the type of work that I put in. And so, when I take those type of shots, it's not like I haven't took it before when nobody was around. Like I said, just trusting my work and able to hit those type of big shots.
What are your other hobbies besides not shooting? You're a hell of a basketball player, well-rounded. Is there anything else that you do if you wanted to just get away?
Most of the time I like to play video games with, some childhood friends, just kind of get my head, away from all the things that we deal with as basketball players. And, and it's getting cold now, but I used to like to go to the pool and swim. So, that kind of gave me kind of my own type of space as well.
Yeah, what's your favorite game? What's your go-to? What's your go-to games and what system?
I play PlayStation 5. I like to play Fall Guys, and I'll play a little 2K.
Okay, all right.
You aren't going to the pool anytime soon, are you? Unless it's indoor, right?
Nah, not at all. It's cold now.
Yeah, we're saying it's cold, but we're all Texas guys. It's like this is still.
Hey, I was a cold snap coming in right now too.
Keontae, I was at a high school football practice yesterday morning. It was 58 degrees, and everyone who was not a football player had gloves on, and I thought, this is crazy.
Keontae, with the change in what is college athletics, with the transfer portal, obviously NIL, and you being a star player into what Baylor is doing, how much has that been to juggle for you, your teammates, and just being a student athlete at the collegiate level?
I think with all this stuff going on, different, like you said, transfer portal, I wasn't really worried about that because at the end of the day, like I said, the stat that Kevin Rue was, and as far as the NIL standpoint of things, I was trying not to focus on that. In my personal opinion, I feel like it's good that us collegiate players get to make some money, but at the end of the day, I know what my main goal is, and I know that that's not the type of money that I want to make for myself. So I kind of try to. It's a blessing for any business that comes to me or anything that comes my way. But, at the end of the day, I love the game of basketball and I play because I love it. So I really don't pay too much attention to, all the NIL aspects of things. So.
In the end, you guys played in Canada during the summer, and I watched those games against guys that were much older than most of you. In the end, was that time, even though you guys kind of weren't quite yet together and some didn't play, going to be amazing to see how much difference there is when we see you for the first time in November?
Definitely. It's going to be great to see where we're at now from when we're in Canada. It wasn't so much, when we were out there, it wasn't so much. Of course, we wanted to win, but at the same time, we wanted to get better each and every day, be better than we were the last day. We preach go 1-0 each and every day. And, when we're out there, instilled a lot of confidence in the guys. I got to learn, about guys off the court and on the court. So, overall, it's a blessing that we got to go out there and compete as one team.
Thank you, Keontae. We've had you on a handful of times, and every time, very impressed with you. Mature beyond your years, and obviously one heck of a basketball player, but a better person. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You too. Keontae George, Baylor freshman from IMG, a superstar-type player entering the Baylor basketball program. And who knows, with Cryer and I mentioned Flagler. Last year, the transfer who made the great progress you made from
Dale Bonner.
And I mean, all these guys out there, they're loaded up.
Well,
and we'll see.
They have not. And this is no disrespect to anybody they have, and I think anybody would tell you this, but they have not had a guy who day one can get to the basket and not even get to the basket. When the ball leaves his hand, it's probably going in. Like, he is that kind of scorer. And it can get there and then just keep scoring and scoring and scoring. I can't think of a guy whose game was like that. He's different than what they've had.
They've had scores.
Yeah.
Darius Dunn, Pierre Jackson, a couple other guys, and maybe we're missing one or two. But he seems to be somebody, and there is discussion about if things go well that he may be here for a year, and that's part of college basketball. And no question, he's a rock star.
I don't think there's any question about that. Yeah, I think this is as much of a one and done guy as you're going to find in college basketball. I think that's everybody's expectation, starting with Scott Drews. And if he's not, then something went wrong. Knock on wood, that doesn't happen, because that's definitely the thought process here.
Which means if they're playing at home or they're playing near you, you want to go watch them. But also the entire team is obviously good. What a great conference!
Oh yeah, we might have just talked to the top 5 pick in the draft next year for all we know. But yeah, there's a very good chance of that.
Kansas State, TCU, one of the better games in the Big 12 this weekend because of they're on top. Both of them are. K-State with a one non-conference loss to Tulane, who we had Willie Fritz on earlier. We'll hear from Aaron Lockett, former Kansas State All-American. He's next on 365 Sports. Ideal MRI. Dr. Rob Maxey and his business and the partners do an incredible job of finding a couple of things. One, what is hurting you? Maybe you have an ACL issue, or maybe it's an MCL or some ligament or whatever is going on in your knee, and that's not good. They'll find it because they have an MRI machine that's going to find it. If your doctor is treating you, your orthopedic surgeon or somebody else, and they want to get another look by going to an MRI, getting you an MRI, you tell them about Ideal MRI. They know, but go ahead and remind them. Ideal MRI in the south of Waco, in the again, a place that has an MRI machine that is second to none. $497 is all you're going to pay every single time, and even on top of that, maybe less. I've been inside their machine. I've been in it 3 or 4 different times. One time, $497, never more, and sometimes less. IdealMRI.com. If you have something, maybe it's a torn rotator cuff, whatever it is, they'll find it and save you a ton of money at IdealMRI.com.
During Ram Power Days at Allen Samuels, our great selection of new cars and trucks come with amazing deals and competitive financing that makes you ask, why shop anywhere else? The new 2022 Ram trucks are designed to be durable, functional, and stylish. These legendary, award-winning trucks give you that first-class feel. Luxurious leather trim seating options, exceptional legroom and storage, plus surround view camera options you'd expect from a premium truck. Come see our selection today or browse online at AllenSamuelsDCJ.com.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Nitsche Group Insurance Agency. With the Nitsche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Nitsche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Nitsche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Play action, shape it, over the middle, caught, Holmes, gone, touchdown, Baylor. A strike from Shape It.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
He was an All-American, 4-time All-Big 12. Played in the National Football League with the Buccaneers and 49ers. We've had Aaron Lockett on the show, former Kansas State star, All-American. And he joins us on 365 Sports with Craig and Paul. And I'm David Smoak. Aaron, thanks for your time. Kansas State, TCU, both teams at the top of the Big 12. We know Kansas State's identity. What are your thoughts about what you've seen? I know they had the hiccup against Tulane, but what Coach Kleiman's done this year?
You know, I've been really impressed with him. I think Coach Kleiman finally has got everybody to buy in from the top down. Obviously, they're playing really good football. They've had some big wins on the road. But I don't think enough credit goes to Truman Carroll, the strength and conditioning coach, and his team. Done an amazing job over the summer, and I think we're starting to see the benefits of it here this season.
Do you think that, because we haven't had to see it yet, there hasn't really been a need, but that Adrian Martinez, if TCU can force him to pass, can do that without making the mistakes that plagued him at Nebraska?
Yeah, you know, for me, you know, what I've seen from Adrian, he's made good decisions. I think even OU forced him to pass sometimes, and he found his groove. Obviously, we have some senior receivers that really know the game well, so between Warner and Brooks and Malik Knowles, like, I'm comfortable, you know, from a fan standpoint of seeing them getting the balls in their hands. I think they can do exceptional things moving forward.
Aaron, you kind of touched on it there, but what have been your thoughts on how Adrian Martinez has entered the program, adapted, obviously found his niche, and seems to just really have a good thing going right now in the Little Apple?
Yeah, I think there's some similarities, obviously, between him and Colin Klein, and so it obviously helps him with Klein being the OC, seeing some of himself in Martinez, and I think he's let him grow into his role. Like I said, just watching him, I'm glad when he runs the ball. He's a really good football player. He can run the ball well, and he's made excellent decisions. And so I think he's up for the challenge. He's played big-time P5 football, so this is nothing new. Just another conference in a different color, but he's shown his worth to date.
Aaron, there are teams, for example, last year Baylor had their best season ever. They were 12-2, but they also won a lot of one-score games. Adrian Martinez came from a program where they lost him all the time. Kansas State's been able to win a game that was somewhat ugly, depending on how you look at it, but they won against Iowa State. They've been able to win the one-score games. What does that say about them?
Just they're relentless. I think they understand what the end goal is. I think, like I said, they're buying in as a team, and so they've got a lot of talent on their team, a lot of hidden talent. Obviously, that's Kansas State in general. Kind of like Oklahoma State. They always don't get the notoriety they deserve, but a lot of good football players over there. And so I just think they're putting together a program that's starting to come through in the clutch. And so this will be another test come this Saturday.
What do you think about this conference as a whole this year and how difficult it's going to be for anybody to win it?
Well, I think it's parity. I think obviously historically it's always been Texas and Oklahoma with most of the 4 to 5 star athletes, but kids are starting to make different decisions staying closer to home. You saw that with Baylor last year. Oklahoma State has a great quarterback after this playing well. You had Brees last year at Iowa State. So I just think that, you know, kids are starting to make a decision where they don't want to sit, they want to play immediately. And so that's starting to give kids an opportunity to go to different schools.
Can you try and describe the impact that Deuce Vaughn's had on this program here over the last few years?
I mean, Deuce is just a steady Eddie, right? He's a home run guy every time you can give him the ball. He showed his receiving skills. I think this year he's showing that he can block with the best of them. And so for Deuce, is just, you know, the more opportunities he gets, I think the more he'll show you his value. And so obviously I've been impressed. I've been around guys like Deuce in my past, but just seeing what he can do day in and day out, knowing that the defense is going to key on him has been remarkable. And so for me, just a fan of him, just like watching him play. Very durable, always got his head in the game, and you can tell he's a coach's son.
Aaron, there's no question the Big 12 last summer with the Texas OU story and the SEC initially kind of rocked, and then they recovered with the 4 teams they've added. And it's a conference that's kind of been through this the last 10 or 12 years. What do you see now? It seems like, again, we know how big and the logo and brand and the history and tradition of Texas and Oklahoma, but what does it say about everybody else that's kind of seemed like they've raised their game in the last couple of years?
Well, I think the biggest thing with the Big 12 now is you've got more exposure and awareness. And so when you're adding a Cincinnati and a Houston, you're giving them an opportunity to get a different type of recruiting pool. So West Virginia being outside of the region of the Big 12 started to open that up. But now I think we can compete with some of the Big Ten when it comes to recruiting. And so I think everybody, once again, took it as a challenge, looking for an opportunity to showcase that they can play with the OUs and the Texas of the world. And so even though they not have the 5-star or top 10 recruiting talent, they're putting together good products on the field, and most of those guys are starting to translate to the next level, which is amazing for the Big 12 right now.
Why does K-State seem to have Oklahoma's number, you think?
Man, if you think about it, I mean, a lot of OU coaches came from the K-State tree. And so whether it's the Stoops or the Manginos or the Venables, and I think it's just one of those things is where we just play sound football against Oklahoma. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely something that Kleiman's taken to heart. I know Snyder took it to heart. And so it's just one of those where I wouldn't say it's a rivalry, but it's just one of those opportunities for us to really get some national exposure. They're always in the top 10. And so for us, it's always a game that can propel us to the top 10 if we can win it.
I don't think he wants to know. You don't.
Yeah, they don't want the secret recipe.
You don't ask a genie how he gets his magic. You just make a wish.
Yeah. My bad, Aaron.
That's a great point, but they sure have. And there was a time when they gave Texas all sorts of problems as well. But then again, you were good. I mean, Kansas State has been good. In fact, back in the 90s, early parts of the 2000s, fantastic when you were a part of it. What was it like to play for Bill Snyder?
Bill Snyder was ahead of his time. I mean, obviously a lot of us coming in didn't understand some of the things that he was asking of us, but he was preparing us for life. And ultimately that translated to us being very efficient on the field. And so I think where Bill was really excellent was knowing his talent. And so for me as a 5'7", 4'2" receiver, he gave me the chance to go deep time and time again. With Quincy Morgan, he used him in the screen game. And so Bishop allowed him to do the QB run game. Like he used the strengths that you had as an athlete, and he used it to your advantage. And I think for that, it just allowed us to be very successful at that time and point.
Aaron, you also were a dynamic All-American punt returner. Is there any? Do you have to? Yeah, you were. Do you have to have a little bit of a screw loose to be able to become? 11 guys are coming at you, or at least 9 or 10 are coming right at you, and the ball's in the air, and you can't really look at them.
If you don't have a screw loose, you got to be desperate to get on the field. There's got to be something in you that wants to make a play. I honestly think that being a returner gives a lot of athletes the opportunity to be themselves. They're not confined within running out and waiting to get the ball. As soon as they get the ball in their hands, they can make it go. And so if you look at returners, obviously with especially you at K-State, I mean, with Knowles and Brooks, I mean, we rocking again. Those guys are amazing back there.
Yep.
And so every time they touch the rock, it's a chance they can go to the house. And so it's just something about being a returner at K-State that just lifts you up just enough to where you can make a difference in any given game.
Do you, as a returner, have to develop a Jedi sense of this guy is 2 yards away? How do you even practice that?
It's like playing tag. Just don't let them touch you. You just got to get loose. You just got to know. Obviously, there are schemes, right? And so if you can get past the first wave, if you think about it, you're going, the opposite direction of everybody coming through. So if you can pass that first wave, then there's an opportunity for you to hit the sideline and then get vertical. And so I think, like I said, Kansas State has just put some really good athletes back there, and it's really worked well. But I don't want to discredit all the other 10 people on the field that's taking pride in making sure that they can get their block. It's man on man. If you can make sure your man doesn't make the tackle, then all you got to do is beat one man and you're to the house.
Yeah, it's a K-State thing. It's also a Lockett family thing as well, given the history.
Oh, man.
Aaron, just curious. I mean, obviously it's been fun to see what they've done so far, but as you know all too well, there's still a bunch of games to be played. They've got a terrific opponent coming up this weekend in TCU, who is sitting there at top 10 in the country right now. Obviously a huge opportunity for the Wildcats. What are your thoughts heading into this one?
And TCU is really good. Like, if you really sit down and watch them play, Offensively, between Barber and Johnston and Miller and Dugans, like, they can run the ball. That running back is a real deal. And so for K-State, it's going to be a challenge, right? They're going to have to make sure that they can play man-on-man when needed. They're going to have to make sure they contain the box. But I'm impressed with TCU. And then defensively, honestly, they're fast and running around. And so, once again, I think it's just, you got a lot of Fort Worth, Dallas kids are starting to stay home. And so they're starting to build it up a little bit. And so now you're seeing TCU come around with all of the talent that historically Texas would have pulled from Dallas.
Darren Sproles or Deuce Vaughn?
What are we talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Are they actually just long-separated twins at different ages?
You know what? They actually have they have some similarities, but their game to me is totally different.
Okay.
So obviously I played with Darren. Darren has that 1-2 immediately, and extremely powerful, but Deuce gets vertical really quick. And so he's got a lot of wiggle on the second level. And so I think Deuce obviously had a chance to catch the ball a lot more than Darren, but Darren was great in the screen game. I've seen Deuce run out routes and slants and Texas routes and option routes as a running back. And so both super effective. Obviously because of their size, people immediately compare them, but both have been productive for Kansas State. And so glad that Deuce is doing what he's doing, and I'm rooting for him every time he's on the field.
Aaron, I interviewed Sean Lee one time, and I asked him about how Darren Sproles, when he was at the Eagles, had just befuddled the Cowboys. Like, they could not do it. And he said he literally spent what would amount to weeks at a time, if you amount, like, in the offseason, trying to learn how to react to Darren Sproles, and it took him forever. And then he even said, like, I made a couple tackles on him, and it may just be because he's, in his 30s now, but before he's like, they had no way to figure him out. He would kill them.
There's a reason he played 15 plus years in the NFL.
Right.
Like, it's just talent, hard to describe, but he's just extremely talented, gifted, driven, strong as an ox. I don't think people realize that about Darren. Darren is super strong. Darren will get under there and throw 405 on the bench like it's nothing. And so when you put that into that frame, along with his tenacity to make plays, you got a superstar.
Aaron, last thing from me for you, just looking ahead at the Big 12. I mean, it looks like Texas and Oklahoma, after the big surprise last summer, it looks like they're probably going to be around through the end of the deal, so for a couple of more seasons. Obviously, we know about the 4 teams coming in next year. Looking at the future of this conference, just what are sort of your thoughts on the major changes that are in store, but also the little bit of a shakeup overall?
I think the Big 12 is in a good position. I think they're playing really good football. I think they get a lot of credit and people enjoy it. Obviously, like I said, the team's coming in with, Cincinnati's playing really good football. They've got some talented kids. U of H, they're not winning some of the games this year that they historically won, but they've obviously got some talent there, which I think will be helpful. And then so for OU and Texas, I mean, obviously OU's got to turn the corner, right? They've got to get comfortable with their new coaching staff and get some players in place. And for Texas, I don't know. Texas is hit or miss, right? Obviously, they've got some talent. I don't know how long they can retain it just because you got to win games. And so, I think the Big 12 is really in a good spot. Comfortable watching Big 12 games, whether it's Iowa State. I'm happy to see KU finally get it together and come around because that makes it more competitive overall. And so they've done a good job. And so I think the Big 12 is really on the up right now.
Kansas State, Aaron, as you know, has been close. Very close to being at the very, very top, the 98 team with what happened. Michael Bishop, you're on that team in the game with A&M. And then 03, what was it? 2010 or 11, whatever year that was, 12.
11.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Baylor had the goal line stand to Colin Klein. They've been so close. How much hunger is there to get, obviously, to win it all or just get to that next level?
For all of us ex-players, we're extremely hungry for it, right, because we deserve it. I think we've got what we need to have in place. We just got to finish. You need everything to fall right. And so I think, like similar to Baylor last year, like it can happen, right? And so you just got to have the right pieces in place. A lot of us ex-players, continue to invest into the program, give advice where we can, make sure you show up, make sure you're rooting them on. I mean, all of that matters. And so Kansas State is getting there. Like I said, we've had the 10-1, 11-1, 10-2 seasons, and so we just got to win that big game consistently just to get that opportunity.
Hey, man, Aaron, we appreciate your time. You were spectacular in your career. Are you still an agent? Are you still in that business?
I am. I'm an NFL agent. I am. And so here's the reason I watch a lot of football.
Oh, man.
At their scouting,
I am.
right?
I'm enjoying it. Yep. This is officially year 2 for me. So get an opportunity to go see a lot of these kids play, and I have a good knack for seeing what transitions to the next level. So just building trust, building it the right way, and I'll be here for a long time.
Hey, man, if you're ever swinging through Waco to check out some Baylor Bears or something, let us know, and we'll get together.
You've got some really good players out there. You really do. Excited to see. I'm waiting to see Tevin Williams get on the field.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
He's an Oklahoma State champ. He's a 102-meter guy. Excited to see him. Looking forward to your tight end, your backup tight end right now out of Cypress, Texas.
Yeah, Dabney, yeah.
He's the real deal.
Yep.
Drake is going to be good. And so just excited to see some of those players. I know some of them personally, but just waiting on their chance to see what they can do when the light shines.
Does your ability or does your history as a player, does that help you in the relationships trying to gain clients?
I probably gained some trust. I mean, the fact that I went through an All-Star game, played T5 football, went to the combine, got drafted, did the practice squad, did the active roster, got cut. I mean, at least I can relate to what they're about to go through, right? And so from a conversational standpoint, yeah, that definitely helps. And then obviously your main head is your agent, talking with personnel and scouts and owners. And so just showcasing that side of it. But obviously it helps a little bit that I can speak their language.
Aaron, thank you for speaking your language with us. We appreciate your time. Great segment, buddy. Good to have you on.
All right. Wish you guys the best of luck.
You too. Former K-State All-American, played on the 98 team. I think his last year was an 01, 4-time All Big 12. Tyler is his nephew, who plays for the Seahawks, has been in the league for, 8-9 years. And, of course, his brother as well, Kevin, and just a family that has fed Kansas State football.
By the way, Tyler's on my starts tonight on the Fantasy Football Show, 6:30 on the NFL and Cowboys
There you
channel.
go.
So
when we come back, we're not done. John Machota covers the Cowboys. We mentioned a little bit about that Jerry Bob Kraft spat that occurred in the NFL, and Bob Irsay going outside of the owners' meetings when they said they weren't going to talk about Daniel Snyder, and he absolutely did.
Hey, I heard a great point on that today. Have any of the owners come out and gone like, well, Bob's just a loose cannon?
Actually, there were a couple of owners that came out and said, we were told to not say anything.
But they did not say that Bob is a loose cannon.
I think he probably got scolded.
Or Jim
for what
Irsay,
he
I'm
said.
sorry. Bob
Yeah,
Irsay was his dad, but yeah.
Yeah, Jim Irsay.
But not publicly, nobody said like, well,
we don't know privately.
Yeah,
You're right. You're right. And again, I'm not so sure he's the one that you want the owners to have representing their comments or whatever or what they're thinking. This is 365 Sports.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street in Waco. You can go on DoorDash, and you can order from them if you're sitting home and can't get out and would like to just have it delivered to you. They've got an unbelievably great selection. They're available there. You can go on Instagram and see some of the cool promotions and different things that they're doing there at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Or you can go to the drive-thru window, get speedy service right there if you know exactly what you want, if you're on the go and don't have to go in the store and get stuck maybe looking at 100 things like I do when I go in there, because the selection is great. Best selection of Texas whiskeys that are available. Best selection of craft beers. It's autumn now, so you got all these great autumn beers that you can get there at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street behind the bank. Great customer service, great selection. And look, if you've moved here from out of town and you're like, well, I got this in my state and I don't know if you have it here, they will either find out if they can get it there or tell you, what the deal is on distribution. They bring new products in from all over the place all the time. They have such a great selection of stuff. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street behind the bank.
The wait is over. Richard Carr GMC has the trucks. 2022 GMC Sierras have hit the lot and they're waiting for you. Sierra trucks offer best-in-class towing, strong steel beds, multi-pro tailgates, and advanced features that make driving a Sierra second to none. Trucks are waiting for you to test drive now. So call now, log in now, or get here now and drive your next truck today at Richard Carr.
Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? by not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Sausage wrap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Looking for a great job with great pay and awesome benefits? Genco FCU is hiring. As a longtime Waco employer, Genco focuses on what matters most in our employees' lives, like pay incentives, bonuses, benefits, 401k plans, paid time off, advancement opportunities, medical, prescription, dental, and vision insurance, as well as short and long-term disability. Come join our incredible team today and make Genco your career that will work for you. Apply at gencofcu.org or at any branch location.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John Machota of The Athletic, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Cowboys coming off the loss to Philadelphia, and John Machota, theathletic.com, covers the Cowboys, also as well the NFL. And John, a couple of things to get to. Let's start with the NFL owners' meetings and a apparent flare-up between Gerry and Bob Kraft, a couple of heavyweights. Anything from that you have found out, anything new today?
I haven't, but it is always entertaining when you have things like that go on and they make headlines, and those are, I would say, the 2 most powerful owners in the NFL. So that obviously takes things to another level. And I think when you see that 31-1 vote on the Roger Goodell new contract, it just shows you that, Gerry, I don't know, probably holds some grudges still. He was back in 2017, one that didn't want them to sign off on the last deal for Roger Goodell. And it appears that he's the only one that hasn't changed his mind about that. I mean, Robert Kraft just got married and had Roger Goodell at his wedding. So pretty clear that he's on Roger's side. So fascinating stuff. And it's one of those things, too, I think most fans in Dallas probably know this, but I think people across the league that you just see that Gerry just had an 80th birthday. And some people might think, oh, he turned 80. He's probably slowing down a little bit. Nope. Jerry still got that fastball when he needs to use it.
Do you think that any of that still goes back to the whole Zeke suspension that he's never gotten over?
I bet you it does a little bit. I'm sure it does. I think with Jerry Jones, if you cross him and to a certain extent, I think that he doesn't forget. Let's put it that way. I mean, obviously the biggest one being most, myself included, still scratch our head at the idea that Jimmy Johnson isn't in the Ring of Honor, and there's. They can go on TV and everything seems great, but there's obviously still something there, or else, Jimmy Johnson would be going in the Ring of Honor. So Jerry certainly can hold a grudge. And I think that I wouldn't say that's the only thing. I don't think this is only Zeke's suspension thing. I think it has to do with how much money Roger Goodell is making, and I'm sure that that Jerry looks at it from a way of maybe that's coming out of the owner's pockets and money that they should be making. And they shouldn't be paying somebody like that much money. And so I'm sure that the financial side in it, I doubt that he thinks that Roger Goodell is just doing an awful job and wants to get him out of there. I think it's the fact that they're paying a commissioner of the league as much as that they're paying him.
So John, Eagles 26, Cowboys 17 at halftime. This was not looking good whatsoever for Dallas, but man, in the end, what were your thoughts on, a strong effort, but just not enough ultimately to overcome what the Eagles did early on?
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway when the game ended was, you had a chance to win it late. You didn't play anywhere near your best game, but Cooper Rush threw 3 interceptions, and the Eagles didn't turn the ball over at all. And they were playing at home, and that place was jacked up, about as tough of a road environment as you're going to play in, especially a Sunday night game like that against a foe that their fan base hates you significantly. And to come out of it the way that they did and the way that they fought back, nothing that happened in that game made me change the way I think about either of those teams. I still think that both of them are in the conversation of being the best team in the NFC. I would put them probably right below Buffalo and Kansas City. And with what Philadelphia has done through these first 6 games, you can certainly argue that they belong maybe as the number 1 spot. But I don't think that really matters. I think if you're the best team in the NFC and you get to the Super Bowl, whatever happens there happens. But nothing that happened in that game changed my mind. I still think that the Eagles and the Cowboys are still amongst the best teams in the NFC. And actually, the thing that probably changed my mind about stuff was probably before that game even kicked off, and it was just the Packers losing at home to the Jets. I did not see that happening after they lost in London the week before. And so it just makes you look at the rest of the NFC and go, do we really know who's even good in this conference? And so, I still feel that the Cowboys and Eagles are right there at the top.
John, Dak's going to be back this week. How much do you expect him to be rusty? He was rusty in that first game, having not played in the preseason. He's got this thumb thing. Do you think they will ease him in?
I think they'll ease him in from a sense of that they're just going to keep playing the way that they play with Cooper Rush, or at least call the game that way, where they're going to lean heavily on the run. And this is a really bad Detroit defense. That the Lions can score points, but they really can't stop anyone. It's probably the worst defense in the NFL. And so this just seems like a good spot to bring Dak back because of the fact that he's ready to go now. Health-wise, he wants to play, but then also the team that they're facing. You're at home. The Lions haven't won a road game in a couple years. They don't really get to the quarterback. I think they got 7 sacks this year, and 5 of them came in their win over Washington. And I believe 7 is the lowest in the NFL right now. So you don't have as many worries there. And again, it's not a very good defense. So even if Dak is a little bit rusty, this shouldn't be a game where you need him to throw 35, 40 times. This seems like it's set up pretty good for it to be a game that even if he has a little bit of rust, they still should be fine.
So was there anybody in that game against Philadelphia? For example, I just saw a picture of Ferguson who scored, the tight end who looks like he's obviously a keeper. They've had issues, of course, with Dalton Schultz is hurt. Anyone kind of pop out on your radar as somebody that, they needed that and he's going to be a part of their future in a bigger way than they are now?
Well, Ferguson for sure. And I would even say Peyton Hendershot continues both of those guys. I mean, it looks like you're watching a young rookie version of really Dalton Schultz and Blake Jarwin and what they wanted those two guys to be. And then it got to a point where now, Dalton Schultz got the franchise tag, and Blake Jarwin, because of injuries, is no longer in the NFL. And so tight end's a tough position. It's not an easy transition from the way the college game is played to the way the pros play it. And the fact that they might have found their two tight ends of the future with a 4th-round pick and an undrafted rookie free agent, that's pretty impressive. So I would say those two guys and how much they use them, and we're targeting them in big moments. And, like I said, that's the toughest road environment they'll play in this season. I thought that was probably the most impressive. Defensively, nobody really jumped off, the tape as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I thought that there were some guys that had moments, but then there were other times where, you kind of expected a little bit more. And so unless I'm overlooking somebody now, nobody really stood out to me as that did anything that I wasn't expecting.
If someone's not paying attention and they're just, obviously Cooper Rush is who he is, but what he did to tread water, and even better than that, they did better than tread water. Will that game in Philadelphia kind of discount some of what he did, or is that just stupid?
Yeah, no, I don't think. I mean, yeah, I think it's stupid if anybody does that. It's one of those things that if you sit there and you say, oh, well, he finally played a good team, then I just don't think you're paying attention because, okay, so he beat Cincinnati. Oh, they're not a good team? Okay. Beat the Rams. They just won the Super Bowl. Oh, they're not a good team? Okay, that's fine. They beat the Giants. Oh, they weren't a good team in past years, but they're good now. So does that count? So the sample size that he had in the 4 wins is ridiculously impressive. And you would be pumped if you were an NFL franchise and your starter won those 4 games, much less your backup, who you have just such a small investment in him. And the fact that you can really count on this guy. I don't think that one game did anything to hurt his stock in the Cowboys' eyes or the rest of the league's eyes. I think that teams were made very aware in a league where it's so hard to find quarterbacks that, hey, this is a guy that I'm not sitting here saying that he's going to be your franchise quarterback, but he did enough to show that he, for the foreseeable future, belongs on some roster. Obviously, the Cowboys would like to keep him on theirs, but he deserves to be on a roster for a long time, at the very least as a backup quarterback, because to have a guy like that come in on short notice and produce the way that he did, to go 4-1, I mean, good luck finding another guy to do that.
John, obviously 11 games left, plus the postseason, should they, in fact, continue on this streak and get there. But have you seen the sunshine on Mike McCarthy and staff a little bit more after an offseason of what are they doing? Why is McCarthy still here? And mostly just negative attention on the staff in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. Again, going back to the Cooper Rush thing, you got to give your coaching staff a lot of credit too to get your team to win 4 games in a row after how ugly things looked in the season opener, and then you're also losing your franchise quarterback for 4 to 6 weeks, and then you sit there and you roll off and you go 4-1. I think that coaching staff has to get plenty of credit for that. But as you know, in this business, it changes quickly, and so you lose a couple of games, and all of a sudden that starts to turn, and everyone's criticizing why didn't you challenge the CeeDee Lamb for what should have been a first down. And going for it on 4th down and the play call they went with on 4th down there in the first half. So there's going to always be things to criticize, especially when there's losses. But during that 4-game winning streak, I don't know any coach that would have done a better job than what Mike McCarthy and his staff did during that. And that certainly kept them, they won't admit it. And they've been asked as much this week, but if you would have told them when Dak went down that, well, no, he's going to come back and you guys are going to be 4-2 at that time, every single person would have signed off on that, from Jerry Jones all the way down to, equipment managers.
All right, John, again, it was disappointing how they played in the first half. Obviously, they came out and it seemed like Philadelphia couldn't match their energy. One of the guys that a lot of times is a lightning rod because of Pollard's ability to bust it loose and he's dynamic is Zeke Elliott. But Ezekiel Elliott, it does appear that, again, his legs, his mileage, all of that, the tread, it is obviously going higher and higher. But it does seem to me that he's in a perfect role right now for them. Pollard is the one who gets all the splash, but Zeke seems to be kind of the grinder again. Would you agree?
Yeah, he does, and I think that it's very important for this team to have that guy. You obviously need a Tony Pollard too. That's going to break the big runs, and he's just so dynamic when he gets the ball in his hands. But the Zeke Elliott is the one you need when, as McCarthy says, it's when everybody in the building knows that you're going to run the ball, and you still have to run the ball to have success, whether that's late in games, red zone, goal line, things like that. And I believe he gives you your best chance there, especially when he's healthy and running the way that he is right now, as physical as he's been. And let's be honest, that's the strength of this offensive line is their run blocking. And so I don't think that you can criticize Zeke for anything he's done this year. Is the burst there that he had when he was a rookie or second year? No. But he still is. He's just a good piece for the identity of this team, a hard-nosed team that wants to run the football, wants to play good defense. That's changed over the years. You know, it was more of an offensive, put up a bunch of numbers, and the defense was just okay, but it's changed now. And if you can keep Zeke healthy and you can keep that offensive line trending in the right direction and the defense continues to play the way that it's playing, all of those things are great things for your quarterback. Every quarterback wants that. And more importantly, all those things are things that's what wins on the road in the postseason. Playing good defense, being able to run the ball when everyone knows you're going to run the ball. That's where Mike McCarthy wants his team to be at, is at the end of the season. You know, it's not going to be about, they won 12 or 13 games or whatever it is. It's about what are you doing once you get into the playoffs and you're playing other good teams. And so you're going to need all of that stuff. And so they're not happy with where they are right now, but they're trending in a good direction.
Yeah, John, I think you mentioned the offensive line trending in the right direction. The we like our guys approach has worked out for them in spite of the fact that, what we saw from a lot of these guys in previous seasons, especially Connor McGovern and Tyler Biadasz, was kind of just okay at their best moments. I'm just kind of amazed that they've trended that well, given the fact that Cowboys didn't really address any of that position in the offseason.
Yeah, and Mike McCarthy is a big guy on the idea of, developing your offensive linemen like that, finding guys that end up being starters middle of the draft and things like that. That Green Bay certainly has done that with him, and then since they moved on. So he obviously saw that up close, and it's just different here because we've been used to them when they got good offensive linemen and offensive linemen that you trust. It was generally spending a very high pick on that player, and it looks like they might be able to find some guys that you don't have to spend as much on, and you can spend some of those picks in other areas on the team. And so the key to all of this, I guess, is what I'm getting at is Mike McCarthy likes to say is that, you got to get these younger guys, playing time and the experience they get on the field. That's what's going to pay off for you in the long run. And that's what they're hoping happens with Biadasz and McGovern and Tyler Smith and Terrence Steele, So it is surprising, that they've had some of the success that they've had because of, like you said, though, we like our guys and, they're going to do it in-house is very different than the way a lot of other teams do it. Up until this point, it seems to be working well. Yeah,
Will McClay's done a heck of a job along with others. And after that first game, there was pure panic because we overreact to everything. But they've settled down. Thank you, John. Appreciate you very much for your time.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
John Machota, theathletic.com, and the Cowboys. Hey, one other note about Allen Samuels, that blood drive tomorrow just after 12:30 or so on their Loop 340 and east of 84 in Waco. From David Carter, make sure you do remind them every 8 weeks you can donate blood unless they take double red cells, and that's 16 weeks. I'm a 5-gallon guy and still counting. I said, all at once? He said, no, not all at once. Of course not. He would not be living. 5 gallons of blood. You lose that, that's probably it.
I was told the last time I donated blood that I was an excellent bleeder, which I don't know if it's good news or bad news.
That's probably very
good. It's probably good news if you're donating blood, but if you're bleeding for a non-voluntary reason, so.
No, that's not good. This story from earlier today, and a sad story, Mississippi State's football player Sam Westmoreland, 18-year-old, died. The school announced Mike Leach had obviously a press release, deeply saddened. He was from Tupelo, Mississippi. Played high school football at Tupelo High School, majoring in industrial technology at Mississippi State, walked onto the team after a great career at Tupelo High. No information yet, so our thoughts and prayers to the Mississippi State family and also to the family of Sam Westmoreland. This is 365 Sports.
I had my tennis lesson with Joe Rosas today at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. I did something different today. I walked out there a little bit earlier to watch Joe giving some other people lessons, and it was two ladies, friends that were there, and it is amazing how you see somebody. Sometimes you have coaches that kind of coach the same way for the same people. Like, doesn't matter. This is what they do. But the way he adjusted what he was doing and helping these ladies who are doubles partners learn about what they are doing and how to strategize and little things they're doing and teaching them was really cool, because most of the tennis you're going to play when you're playing in a tournament, especially when you're older, is doubles tennis, and learning those strategies, watching him do that was really cool. With me today, we almost kind of did, it felt like Topgolf. We played a bunch of different games, worked on my accuracy. I felt really good after the lesson. My confidence is growing. He's such a great coach and a great teacher in that after every lesson, I feel like I'm ready to go out and play some more. I've had a blast doing it, and I suggest you do it too. If you are trying to get into tennis and you need lessons, or you're trying to get back into tennis like I am, he's a great guy to go do it. And the facility at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is out of this world. It is, host many, many tournaments. They're second to none as far as quality and the things that they bring. But if you want lessons, if you want, you can play with the pro. You can get 3 other players together and play doubles with Joe, and that's a fun thing. That's just $99, $33 a person. Lots of great things going on with the adult tennis program at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. Check out their website. Check out Joe and all the great things he's got going on.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Hi, this is Paul Catalina. I recently got engaged to the love of my life, but the most important thing that I had to do before I popped the question was get that perfect ring. And I know nothing about rings. So I went to the wedding ring store, Boozer's Jewelers on Valley Mills Drive. I knew I needed a custom design, and that's exactly what they do. 9 out of 10 of their engagement rings are designed in-house. The entire process took less than a month, and they were great every step of the way. Great options on financing, excellent selection, and talented designers. My fiance and I get nonstop compliments on the ring. I only deserve credit for doing the smartest thing I could, walking into Boozer's and letting them work their magic. Your one-of-a-kind fiance deserves a one-of-a-kind ring, and that's what you get at Boozer's. Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store on Valley Mills Drive.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. It's that time of year. It's football season. And BK Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football teams in Texas, right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, led by our leading rusher, the F-150, 45 years in a row. Lock in your best price and rate today by custom ordering your new F-150 at BK Ford. Simple, easy, trusted. Experience better at Bird Colgin Ford.
It's football and tailgate season. If you want product for the grill or smoker, charcoal, season these marinades, sauces, Waco Custom Marketplace is your home to help prep, cook, and enjoy your food. Tailgate must like brisket, tri-tip, fresh-made burgers, sausage, chicken wings, and if you want steaks, call in your order and pick them up. Bacon wrap fillets or any kind of ribeyes. USDA Select, Choice, and Prime that melt in your mouth. House-made sausage and jerky. Also, Waco Custom Marketplace, a one-stop shop for tailgate tailgating, barbecue cook-offs, and family get-togethers, fundraisers with fair prices to you, the customer. A bakery with fresh baked bread and kolaches. There's cold beer, wine, and soft drinks. Serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. A cut above the rest. Waco Custom Marketplace, open Monday through Saturday at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 555.
Top 5 injured players that teams need back in a hurry, especially given the stretch runs that a lot of them are on or the funks that they might be in. But number 5, Jordan Addison, questionable at USC this week. And given the fact that they're kind of a boomer bust offense, I would say that having this guy back, the best wide receiver coming back maybe in the country this year, would be huge for them. But a little banged up, coming off a Utah loss. They've got to stay in the conference race. UCLA's coming down the pipeline, of course, and they're still rolling along. They've got Oregon, I know, but even still, a big loss for them in their offense because, again, you watch USC and they're really good, but they're not there yet, and not having him is a huge, huge piece.
Yeah, he's good. I watched that game. I watched a lot more of that USC-Utah game than I thought I was. Only two good teams, a great finish, and they've got some dudes now. They do, but they're still going to have to work on the guys in the trenches. They'll need. That's what always made the great USC teams back in the days, not just the glitz and glamour.
Well, that in defense, but yeah, I mean, he's the Blitnikoff Award winner, so it'd be great to have him back, no doubt about it. And it was a shame seeing him go out as early as he did. I'm just glad that it doesn't appear to be season ending. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's the Blitnikoff Award winner. Every school in the country would love to have Jordan Addison back. So for USC, that's going to be a very interesting timeline to watch.
This next guy's been out for most of the season in Gunnar Romney, and the way that BYU is kind of trading wins and losses week to week. I know that they're deep at wide receiver. We saw it against Baylor. You've seen it against other teams, but I just think that they need this particular guy back to get more consistent. He brings a kind of added thing. He's been in and out, and they're missing something on that offense, and I think it is veteran presence.
They didn't miss him against Baylor.
No.
Yeah, but whose receiving core has really struggled against Baylor? I mean, that's the thing. It's like, BYU looked great. Who hasn't throwing the football against Baylor at this point? And that's not to take away from BYU and the job they did, but I don't see Roberts out there just burning everybody up, week after week since then. It's just kind of a common theme with this team. But, he, like you said, he's been in and out. He's tried to give it a go and ultimately ends up injured again, and it's just very wishy-washy on as far as like his status and what to really expect with him at this point. But yeah, he's a good player. They've got other options, and I think BYU's less about Gunnar Romney being banged up and more about Jaron Hall being banged up. That's far more of an issue for them right now, in my opinion. But they'd be better with him, at his best. But he's clearly not 100% and hasn't been. These next three are the questionable quarterbacks, no word on if they're healthy or not. Sean Clifford got dinged up last week against Michigan. So far, James Franklin has been non-committal about whether he'll play this week. That Michigan defense is going to ding up a lot of quarterbacks. They get after everybody really, really well. Penn State could not move the ball really at all, especially in that first half of that game last week. It was a very impressive performance by Michigan's defense, and the drop-off between Sean Clifford and everyone else on that roster, as this is a good Penn State team, but you saw the distance between them and Michigan last week, which I think is probably the same distance between them and Ohio State. But if they don't want to lose one to a team not named those two, they need Sean Clifford back.
Yeah, they just kind of – Michigan's bigger, better, faster, stronger, and Penn State's pretty good. Penn State's got Minnesota and Ohio State in back-to-back weeks as well. Sean Clifford, he's kind of he's a guy.
And Minnesota's missing their quarterback too. Tanner Morgan may not play.
He's not just a guy. He's a good player. Yeah, I mean he's.
Oh, I said he's their guy. I'm sorry. I thought you said
But yeah, I mean we got to see a little bit more of Drew Aller, which I know people were clamoring for earlier in the year. But I think getting a situation like this and you realize how valuable a guy with his experience is, and Sean Clifford certainly. had enough moments where Penn State fans pull their hair out a little bit, or outsiders watching are like, yeah, what's the big deal? But then you see him perform more often than not, and he's a big part of why they're where they are. So, they need to get him healthy, and it is good that we'll see perhaps a little bit of more of a Drew Aller, for example. But Clifford makes them go.
Number 2, Tailua Tagovailoa from Maryland. He's the guy that makes this whole team go, and without him, Mike Locksley's done a great job there of taking a program that was very moribund and making them exciting and a team that is actually a good watch now in the Big Ten. But they're only going to go as far as their healthy and very talented quarterback is able to take them. And he was carted off, and then they say he's day-to-day, so that's good news. But at the end of it, if you don't have him day-to-day or not day-to-day or trying to, push things off, I don't know. This is bad for a Maryland team that's got a little bit of momentum. I mean, they're not world beaters, but they're pretty good, and they're pretty good because of this guy.
What a family of quarterbacks, huh? And now he's hurt. Obviously, we know about Tua, who today, in an article from ESPN, mentioned that he lost consciousness in that game where he came back. He actually lost consciousness.
Dolphins fans said that it was his back that hurt.
Yeah.
Right, Dolphins fans?
Yeah.
Got all defensive about, people who were, concerned about the health of Tua Tagovailoa. But no, trust the coaches who said it was his back. How BS does that look at this point?
I'm sure his back did probably hurt, as did his skull and his brain and everything else.
The Gunnar Romney thing is a lacerated kidney. That's what he was coming back from. Wow. That's why it takes a while.
Yeah, I wouldn't want. I don't like lacerations, especially not on my internal organs. Number 1, Jalen Daniels, Kansas. I think this is kind of obvious. I don't think he's going to play this week, but there is a report, albeit unconfirmed by Kansas, and it's not going to be, that he was back at practice today. Doing some things.
Go ahead.
Maybe he'll play this weekend. They're not worried about him getting hit.
Zing.
God.
I couldn't help the opportunity there. I would be very surprised if he played this weekend. I wouldn't throw him out there against Baylor's defense, even if they have been a little bit of a disappointment as far as getting to the backfield. That just seems really quick turnaround. But I don't know. I'm not his doctor. If he's ready to play, they're better. I mean, Jason Bean's fine. Jason Bean could probably beat Baylor with their current state the way that they are. I'd much rather face him than face a pretty healthy Jalen Daniels, that's for sure.
The chat room wants to know why you didn't put Spencer Sanders. You're talking about back, right?
Yeah. Back.
Not just.
Yeah, I don't know if Spencer Sanders is going to play or not. Yeah. Like, he would be on this list maybe next week if he doesn't play. So
he'd be very high on the list.
He finished the game last week, so that's why I kind of thought, like, all right, well, maybe not him. So Sean Clifford didn't finish the game. Tagovailoa didn't finish the game. Addison didn't finish the game. Romney's been out for all this time. So that's why these guys Daniels didn't even play. That's why these guys were on the list.
All right, for a lot of you saying goodbye to you for the night. Thank you very much. We're back at it again tomorrow. Behind the scenes, Emery Winter, Jacob Wilson. Jack was here for a skosh. Levi's somewhere. And then Garrett Ross, great job running the mothership. For Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina, for all of our amazing sponsors since April the 6th of 2020, we continue to grow. Thanks to you. We appreciate you. I'm David Smoak. Have a great night. College football tonight, by the way. Georgia State at Appalachian State is the game on TV tonight. Good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.